Well, good morning, everybody. I'm not going to say thank you for coming. You deserve much more than that. Medals would be in order. And they've been awarded on the etheric levels for those that have gone the extra mile, as they say, or 3. Anyway, lovely to see you all again, and hello and welcome from both of us. I hope you can see her right behind me. She presently, having spent a virgin first for us, we have a set of 80 mile hours all ready to go. Don't faint or anything, please. But I got to tell you that represents the toast. It's taken 3.5 weeks to create the toast. Now she's going mining the jam. There are, as ever, reasons why the jam was not made available earlier. There are reasons why the jam and its absence is some kind of compliment to those of you who have chosen to come on this particular tour and who have been drawn, as it were, intrinsically. I think I was about to say something really important. Go away!
We're about to give somebody $1,000 and I want it to be you.
Okay!
Information that'll be available on the tables, but you might want to bring your copy from the cabin. So please make your way now. You can bring your breakfast with you. The Amber Palace is open now for our $1,000 bingo.
Is it still working?
11 o'clock. It's our adventure tour. Every guest or at least one family member from all families will need to attend. How do you get off the ship? How do you...
Quickly!
We have a slight change of itinerary time as well. I need to tell you about, and then all the fun stuff. 40 minutes, that's all, and I promise you lots of fun.
Roger Daltrey.
So, Terry, make your way there. All guests to the Amber Palace, please.
I almost got there, boy. There we are. Gosh, that's a relief. I don't have to get the $1,000. Where were we? Now, turn me up or the microphone? I did the who bit just now, all right? Right, anyway, I was talking about the jam. It's becoming more and more apparent to us that as sometimes the way the data comes in, we talked about before, but it comes in chunks. It gets joined up in a rather curious way. When it comes to things that are called security clearance, there's a process that's almost like a teasing process that occurs. They don't mean to tease, but there's a lot of humour often in it. And for a couple of weeks now, there have been references to something called the pin, and there's more than one pin. And that's the thing that we don't really know an awful lot about. It's been likened to removing a pin from a kind of a cosmic hand grenade of sorts. And we know that the grid work that's going to happen during this trip, particularly at Chichen Itza, has to do with removing the lower pin. And the work in England will concern the pin that's associated with the adrenal complex in the upper part of the physical anatomy. So anyway, Ash isn't here this morning, though she wanted to be, because the store's open, the jam's available. So she's doing that. Now, and I meanwhile get the short straw as usual, because I think it's easy for us all to actually accept the presentation of a technical detail that is so closely interrelated it's impossible to get a razor blade between it. But there have been times when there are things that we wanted to talk about, which always seems to come down to me. Like in Bermuda, it was about preparing for contact and the personal stuff, the kind of psychological aspects of being spiritual. And the first layer of this program, this new complementary, physically oriented program, is mine to deal with as well. So I'm going to get my rubbish out of the way, my stuff, okay? When I go into talking about this, right, I recognize and respect one very essential fact, which is that being here right now is quite complicated, and being here right now means that we have various kinds of, various forms of agreement and contract that we carry. When we talk about undertaking certain kinds of commitment from a physical perspective, a biological physical perspective, anatomical exercising perspective, it needs to be stressed and acknowledged at the beginning of this that there are individual people present both here and elsewhere who have contracts and agreements that require them to transmute karma in ways that I would personally prefer not to be involved with. There is a product of undertaking those agreements which renders the physical body vehicle in a damaged or deteriorated state compared with anything that can approach an athletic optimum. All right? So I'm prefacing this by acknowledging those people who are carrying contracts that mean that their physical bodies are not as capable of entertaining the ideas I'm about to present. Okay? And I'm saying, hey guys, I recognize that you're there and I understand, we all understand what it is you're doing. Now, the bad news is that you're not excused. You're not, you're not excused, period, all right? But the place that you're starting from is acknowledged and understood, right? And you will find, as in all the other teachings, that all the way through, the principle is be honest with yourself and do as much as you feel comfortable with doing, all right? Every tiny fraction of a degree of additional contribution you make to your own field capacity and therefore to the collective shield capacity is a gift, and it's recognized, and it's welcomed, and it's honored. Those people who can create 10 or multiple units of contribution, they are people who have agreements to do that. They actually chose to come into physical bodies with that in mind, though they weren't consciously aware of it, okay? So have I made this particular point clear? No one is accepted or excluded unless they choose to be. But at the same time, we respect and honor the fact that there are people who can't progress in this particular area as far as others might. Now, last point. We are, as you may have observed if you were at Phoenix and or Long Beach, that there is a sense within the work that a great stride is occurring, and that is actually correct. The reason why this particular complementary area of the work is being introduced now is precisely for that reason. The reason is and always will be about frequency. The reason is and always will be about your ability to make a connection with increasingly refined types of frequency, all right? Your ability to actually draw them and hold them. Now, what we haven't done ever yet, and Kathara 2 is actually beginning to do a little more than hint at, is to introduce you through the Ra Center to a direct hands-on relationship between your biophysical self, as you know yourself to be now, the etheric element, right? There is a doorway. The Ra is this point of unity which represents the doorway through which you begin to bridge between the you that are sitting here in the room now and the aspects of yourself that you refer to as your higher self. And by the way, that's reminded me, so we can publicly say, some weeks ago, Mata tapped me on the shoulder when I was watching some email interchanges, and I was getting a feeling about the higher self reference again. And I mean, it goes zap when it happens. Undifferentiated concept. Tell the group not to use higher self. Try and avoid higher self. It is an undifferentiated concept, and it is not particularly respectful either. Use any of the names or labels that you're familiar with. Use Rishi or Christos self or anything like that, okay? But it would be, it's just an important refinement. Okay. So this program, which is generically referred to as the Axie toning program, this is the first little bit of it that I'm going to deal with today. There is a progression of this that parallels not so much the movement through K234 and the rest, but parallels the progression into higher levels of frequency, those that exist outside the D13, 415 levels, which is about where we're headed. In other words, we're moving from eka-heliotalic into akasha-heliotalic, right? And what we're saying is that there is a consideration, if not a requirement, that you respect the process sufficiently and your physical body if you want to actually make it to the point where you're looking at transitioning out, taking the body out. Should there be an unexpected evac call, which would be a 3 days notice, it would be an awful shame if you think, oh my God, I wish I did some of that physical preparation work so that I could hold the frequencies available that I'm going to need in the next 72 hours, all right? Those kinds of simple things are relevant to this, all right? Much less on the macro scale, the idea that there is a concept coming down that we still don't know an awful lot about, but they're referring to it as starburst. I think it's when the indigo shield goes supernova. And that presupposes our ability as a collective, as a group, as a family, that we can draw and hold the necessary frequencies in order to do that. That raises then the role of the flame holders, which is Ash, myself, and Mac, right, the big burn. But without it, the flame keepers, who are all of you guys who actually get what is going to be offered in this fast talk. This should be more than half an hour before we do the action. But all of you who step actively into this, you're becoming front line. You have frontline contracts. Respect those that don't, because I have never yet been involved in a team that's engaged with a situation like it, where the so-called back office staff are absolutely crucial. You know, you're out front line, and you're stuck with some provisions or quote-unquote ammunition or any of the palaver that you need, and you don't have all of that infrastructure behind you that's completely committed, ready, and able, right? Everyone has got a role to play. Nobody's accepted, right? Okay. So I'll be fairly quick because we've got a tighter schedule as usual. All right, what are we talking about? We're talking about the first element of the axitoning group of field development activities. And what we're dealing with is something we've called logos, plural. And it's obviously a convenient combination of lotus and yoga. All right. Now, the yoga element is the easier to move beyond. There are certain postures that are associated with yoga as a modality that the beloveds have helped us to configure in a way that suits our purposes. All right. So it's a quick start and finish thing. There are positions that they want us to put our bodies into. And there is the particular reason why they want us to do that is because of the ways that certain postures stimulate parts of the body, parts of the anatomy. That relates to in-body anatomy, okay, such as an embodied chakra. And this one goes as far as the bioetheric interface. Okay, so some of the postures enable us to stimulate the lotus points. Okay, so the relevance of the yoga posturing, the physical body posturing, right? And I'm using the word posture on purpose because I'm avoiding saying pushing the body. I'm avoiding saying overstretching the body or any of those things because that is not what we're doing. We're using postures to put the body in certain positions, right, which achieve a couple of things. The stimulation.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Could you please join me now inside of the Outer Palace?
Yes. So that there is a range when we get into the postures and we start to play with them a little bit. You'll find that there's a range of directly felt response. I mean, you can consciously be aware of what that posture is doing, what it's actually suggesting to you, right? Directly. There is the realm of the unseen and the unfelt by those who have difficulty in actually feeling stuff. Where you're working at the lotus point level, if you can't feel it there, you're going to have to trust that that's true. But the good thing is that they have a close correspondence with physical parts of the body anyway. So, for example, the transcendent lotus points have a close correspondence with the Kathara signets in the shoulders. All right, and you can derive a sense that if you feel a particular tightening occurring in a part of your body, then the associated or the corresponding lotus point in a sort of physical sense is also part of the process. And these have been identified in the handouts you get during the day. So there isn't a posture or a movement that you can actually involve yourself in that doesn't specify which parts of the direct physical and etheric anatomy are relevant to the posture that you're going to be in. All right, because they're mentioned, it doesn't actually mean that you have a Shona crystal pile in that particular area. It doesn't say everyone has. It says go get into these postures and start feeling whether or not you detect that they're there. And that then raises the much, much greater and much more significant component, which is the Ra breathing. Because what this is really doing is putting your body into a particular position where it's helping you to bring your consciousness into a physical focus in your body, which will better enable you to direct lotus frequency and the frequencies subsequent to the time that we're moving through now. There will be other frequencies that will replace those, but this is where we begin, where you consciously direct frequency into your body vehicle. The idea, obviously, is to assist you to clear and increase the capacity of your own field so that it follows that you're able to draw, hold, and discharge more which raises the whole capacitance effect, which I'll talk about briefly in a minute. So that's basically it. Now, I've already touched on the why. I've told you that we're going to be moving out of ecoheliotalic into akasha-heliotalic, and what lies beyond that, we don't know at the moment. Okay? But the whole thing is about preparing you to have a relationship with more refined frequency. That's fundamentally it. How it gets used, whether it's used just on yourself, whether it's used in your Kathara healing practice, whether it's used in terms of the development of the non-static planetary biofeed interface system. And I have a feeling that people have tended to go through Kathara 1 and think, oh, well, it's there and it's all right, but it isn't a static thing, it's a dynamic conduit. And as the planet itself is moving into a period of initiating healing opportunities, it's important to be reminded of that. Okay, and then we come all the way up to the point of the Christos realignment mission issues, which have to do with stuff that we are currently involved in, like the removing of the pin, and its significance in terms of the planetary grid and template. We don't know what it is yet, but Ash will explain it during the week. Going all the way up to new ideas like the starburst effect that I referred to earlier. They're all Christos realignment mission of a mega proportion. So it ranges from the here and now, you, all the way out to the stuff that the Indigo team as a whole has to accomplish. All right, I think I've covered enough of that. Yeah, I've covered all of those. Now, there's a little way of visualizing this that they helped me to create. Now, this is illustrative, I emphasize, and I'll just explain what it's showing. Okay, we have two simple axes. This vertical axis represents 0 personal shields activation, or personal and multidimensional shields activation. That's the Christos Divine template, all right? And it just takes here the 31% divine blueprint activation necessary for Golden Fleece host engagement at that point, okay, all the way up to 100. On this axis, it's talking about the bioetheric axitonal field efficiency spectrum. That is saying, look at yourself as an energy exchange unit. Just try and forget the self you know that cleans your teeth in the morning, does all those sorts of things. But you are a technical unit, a component of potential, energetically speaking. And this is saying, okay, what kind of efficiency rating do we have from the standpoint of pulling, holding, and discharging energy, all right? Now, there was a lot of chuckling going on from Maha, but he said it wouldn't be inappropriate to suggest that the typical adult indigo capacitance, their body capability, ranges somewhere in here, right? So you're talking about somewhere around about 1/3 to 1/2, in the same way that the common garden indigo shield activation level, Christos Divine Blueprint, is also between 30% and a generous 1/2. All right. Now, what they're saying to us is that those people who want to engage in this complementary area of activity and understand why are actually saying, I want to increase my capability as a technical unit of energy, an energy receiving, holding, developing, and discharging entity. I want to move my capacity up here. That's why it's called the capacitance and capacitor effect. That's literally what capacitors do. All right, in the 3D world, right? So all that we're talking about is actually to do with taking our potential as an energy exchange mechanism from this kind of area, and by incorporating Logos and the other axitoning techniques that will follow as we move through Kathara 4 and the others, together with the techniques, always working in parallel, these will maximize the product of your performance as a unit of energy exchange. So that just simplifies what the process that we're attempting to achieve is. All right? Now, these are just some guidelines that were suggested as helpful. These are all parts of, the diagram isn't part of your pack, nor are the first page notes, but this one is. And beginning from a point of respect and integrity, it's suggesting that any individual who comes across this material establishes directly with their rishi whether or not this is consistent with their contractual agreements and obligations and responsibilities. Now, this is an important psychological point. You know, it's a point of respect, but it also has a consequence. Because if you get yes from your rishi, you know that you next need to start to rearrange your mental and emotional shown field perceptual programming, because you've got it, we all have it. You have to agree that you're going to take it on. Because once you get a yes, it's confirming the significance of moving your capacitor effect up as truthfully as you can. So you don't want to crash your own agreement. So that's why this point's here. It's allowing everyone to establish a yes-no relationship. But if you get a yes, you know you've got to deal with it. Now, again, you have, as long as you're being honest with yourself, you have a way of approaching whatever your lifestyle contact is. You make a deal with yourself. You're making a deal with your Christos, who sits just back here. And you and it together are saying, okay, I'm going to actually do this thing once or twice a week, and I'm going to do it really well. Or, if circumstances allow, you're going to cut a deal that says, I'm going to do it every other day. Or if you're crazy like Ash and me, you're going to say, I'm going to do it every day, and you go, oh, God, not again. You know? But this is like all of the other stuff, you know. None of us are sort of, we're not baked yet. We're not the finished article. And the key always is to be honest with yourself and know. If you made a deal with yourself and you break it, it's no big deal. You just need to remember that and say, okay, I will deal with whatever pattern it is that stopped me from doing what I said I would do. And you don't backslide. Okay? You want to feel that you're moving forward in a gentle and hopefully graceful way. And this relates back to something that they were talking to us about in Greece last fall, when they introduced the notion of the art of gentle persistence. This is the first time it really applies. I mean, notwithstanding our general commitment to the work and getting to workshops when hurricanes and things are going on, because that certainly involves the art of gentle persistence, right? But in terms of a requirement that's going to challenge you mentally and emotionally, this is a little different, because you're going to cut a personal deal and you're going to set out to do a thing. All right. Now, here I'm just taking you through in the notes to say, look, sometime every other day is a reasonable target. Sometime is 5 or 10 minutes. Now, look, there are various kinds of lives that are being led by people involved in the work, but is anyone seriously telling me that you can't find 5 or 10 minutes? The entire program, once you're familiar with it, is to run around 24 minutes for 12 postures. The only crazy thing is getting a little used to breathing consciously from the Ra when you've got your body, your leg around your shoulders and, you know, that kind of thing. It's just a little odd because, you know, it is strange to bring your consciousness back to breathing from the Ra and moving it through your body. But once you get comfortable with doing that, it'll take a couple of weeks for some people to feel completely, yeah, okay, right, I've got it. Allow that to be that way, however it works out. Now, this brings some stuff up here, which is really to do with how we perceive ourselves. I haven't yet come across a person that is reasonably well, reasonably fit, reasonably presentable in every way, thinking how much less they are than they actually are. And this is going to engage you in some of those things. But what I'm suggesting is that, having pointed out to you that you are a glorious unit of energy exchange, that you might want to think about trying to change your perception of yourself a little bit. It doesn't matter whether you're stick thin or whether you're half an elephant. If you can begin to see the glory of yourself from this role that is now being made very much more explicit. The CRM isn't abstract anymore. When we moved from K1 into K2-3, I mean, really, did anybody need to say, game on? And as we move into this particular area now, I mean, we're saying game on again, but in a very gentle way. All right. During a session, it helps you to try and remember this, but during a session particularly. Now, when we come to the individual techniques, I looked at it and I said, look, Marta, this feels to me like a bit of a chore. He said, it's important because it will actually bring them into the focus that we're trying to get people to come into. So each posture begins with the Lotus Touch Quickfire. And that is being done a purpose to bring you into that slightly rather reverent mode where before you do every posture you do that. Now, it was said that it's all right after, say, 4 weeks or so, of working fairly regularly, at least a couple of weeks, right? You don't have to do the Lotus Touch Quickfire, and there will be other techniques doubtless down the road that will replace that. But do actually use that as a device to bring yourself into a kind of focus where you're going to work with this energy exchange device that is called your body. All right. That's that. Yeah, when extending the body, this is just it's not a tip, but it's just a description of the way. When extending the body, breathing into the Shona crystal miasmic congestion that the frequency breathing movement engages, always do so on the exhale. Do not force the physical body any time. Simply observe the body as it responds to your intention to assist in its opening and clearing. Do not judge your body. Do not compare it with others. Do not force it beyond its natural, immediate potentials, but respect its willingness and capability in the moment, regardless of what other people can do. Your body will respond much faster than you can imagine, provided that you ensure that your mental and emotional body permit consistency and regularity. Okay, that sums up a lot of attitudinal stuff, which if you remember it will help you hugely. It really is a case, and I don't think that if she was in the room she'd object to me saying this, but since the time that we began working together in Sarasota, my own experiences aside, Ash, I would work out to sort of help some of this energy move through, and Ash would periodically try. And she can be so amazingly gung-ho. The enthusiasm and intensity that she's capable of is just, if I was somebody else, I'd say terrifying. And I would say to her, look, sweet, you know, I've been some kind of athlete most of my life, and I understand that coming from where you're coming from, you don't want to approach it the way you do. Yes, I do. I say, sweetheart, look, you don't. Please, I want you to do this much, please. Listen to me, and then do that much, and then do that much. And it won't be very long. In fact, it'll be a week or even before you start to notice extraordinary changes. I want to have it all now. Okay. Okay. Day 2. I could only do this if I really loved her, and I do. And the message here, this time round, when all this discussion began around the turn of the year, a lot of discussions actually about how we approach helping beginners come into the work and seeing how much technique they need to do, which is coming out of the K through 3 manual, the linking sequence and that. This is all part of that. And the part that I'm stressing is that you will be amazed how much progress any of you in the room now will make if you just stick to doing a little bit regularly. I would say, if you can, a little bit every day. But if you can't do every day, don't let yourself slide beyond a couple of days. But do a little bit every day, and you'll be astounded at how your body starts to react, not just to the physical movement or exertion, but the way you're running frequency through your body, right? And you will start to morph. I mean, really, parts of your body will change in ways that I know that you will like. And I've witnessed Ash do this gentler approach now. And, well, I don't need to say anymore, do I? I mean, you don't see her without any clothes on, but I do. And, you know, the tone and the texture of her skin is different now from the way it was 3-4 months ago. Yeah, I mean, she's got abs. God. Now, one of the things that we're a bit muddled up about is because we kind of finished Cathara 2-3 in Long Beach, but the manual wasn't finished. We've done a lot of work. It is almost done now. We've done a lot of additional work, so there are things in there and techniques that we don't know. We can't remember what people got and what people didn't get. How many people have been working with the Lotus Touch Quickfire technique? Pretty much everybody. About half? Okay. All right. What we're going to do in a second is we're going to go up onto the open deck up top, okay, where we can sort of sprawl out a bit. You might need, if you're sensitive to, because the floor will be hard, I guess, darling, won't it? It'll just be decked floor, won't it? Just a... Right. So if anybody wants to grab a cushion en route to the jogging deck or a blanket or something like that, I mean, you're not going to be pounding the surface. If you're going to be sitting down, you're going to be sitting down for a little while or lying down, just very briefly. So for those people that haven't done the Lotus Touch Quickfire, this is I just wrote this down yesterday, so Jane could copy it off. I mean, this is my version of the shorthand. This is what I mentally have stored that I use, so just as a whip through. It would be a good thing if you could all do the Lotus Touch Quickfire just once now, and we won't do it again when we're on deck doing the postures. It would be unnecessary to do that. Okay. So just those people who haven't done it, just show me your hand a minute. 3, only 3. You don't embarrass me. Pretend. You and I haven't taught you how to do this? Okay, sweet. Alrighty. So, if you can you read my writing is the key thing. Alright? You can bring your hands to the prayer position during speaking these words. Alright, or put them there before you begin. And how you hear the sounds of these words is l'etore, iswa, duete, niwa. Okay? So, if everyone's ready, we'll speak these out loud together. 3 times. L'etore, iswa, duete, niwa. Okay? Keep your hands in the prayer position, everybody. Now this releases the emerald spark at the Mahadra, right? Now, with a 48-point breath from the Azare, okay? Hold, release at the Azare, okay? Now, on the next inhale, draw the emerald spark up from the Mahadra at Earth Core, all the way on up through the central vertical current, all the way on up to Chakra 14, and out and beyond Chakra 14. And exhale gently. Okay, on the next 48-point inhale, you'll draw the emerald spark down to the Azare and deep into the seed atom core and hold the breath. Couple of seconds more, and then exhale the emerald spark from the Azare down to the Ra center and hold the exhale. Leave the breath out. Move your hands from the prayer position just by your sides and put them into the Lotus Touch Fingers position, which is like that. These two will be touching under. Okay. Okay, inhale now and draw the emerald spark up to the Azare from the Ra. Bring your hands back up to the prayer position. Exhale on a 48-point axis. Hold the exhale out. In other words, don't breathe in straight away. And then move your hands down into a relaxed position and inhale. In Kathara 2-3, you'd actually resume the Lotus Touch finger position, but as far as the actual logas are concerned, you wouldn't do that. All right? Okay, good. Now we're going to go up on deck in a second. Because there are some postures that I would find it too funny to even speak. Being in with a microphone stuck in some part of my anatomy, it would be impossible to do this and keep a straight face. And there are some of you that encourage that side of me that I couldn't resist. Bless you. You're so appreciated for enjoying the irreverent side of me. Very quickly. Very, very quickly. This is posture 1. It involves you standing up with your knees slightly bent, progressively allowing your body to flop. Okay? And you will notice that I said to you that each one, it's at the bottom, the horizontal panel says, this one stimulates the central vertical current all through here. Get tons of crystal congestion up here. Okay, the tailbone complex, which are the etheric ducts, tailbone. Chakra 1 and chakra 6, 7, and 9. Okay, KS I've used Kathara Signet, just not to confuse you. Cathara Signet 2, and the bioetheric interface lotus points of the transcendent group 1 through 6. Okay. Yes, just as it's shown there. You'll stand. We'll show you up on deck, but you stand up first of all, and then you just let your knees sag just a little bit to begin with. When you start to let that, the relationship that you have with your body when you start to do this is really interesting, because you become aware of yourself in a way that is quite different unless you've done some yoga before. And when you start breathing frequency through it, that's a different thing entirely. This is an extension, but a slightly more challenging one, but it's not difficult to do. You will not be asked to take the palms of your hands and clasp the insole of either of your feet straight away. It's just too much to do. And if you can manage to grasp just above your knee, you'll be doing very well. You haven't done this kind of thing before. This is the effect of this one works, particularly on Cathara Signet 6 and 7 up here in the body. Just consists of lying down and simply with your knees bent, just bringing your arms back above your head like this, and allowing the pelvis here to lift as you draw. But it's just so easy to do, but the effect is really lovely. It really opens up your body. Pardon? You allow it to move. When your knees are bent, it will pull the pelvis up. This one is backwards. This one is also easy, really, to get into. It works around the shoulders, the base of the spine, the knees. It's a bit more challenging physical position to get into, right? But it's not crazy. This is another one. None of them are crazy. Well, there are a couple I suppose you might call crazy. This one is fairly challenging to do it to its full extension, but you see the way that we've developed this is that this is a simple midpoint. I mean, even getting to this position initially for some people will be enough, and then moving to a place where you can rest your knees on your forehead in a session, that's enough, and you'll move on then eventually where you straighten your legs and let them hang in the air here. And just allow, in the way we approach this, you breathe and allow the body to open and move. And you will feel your body move. You won't push it. You just let it move. And eventually you'll reach a point where your toes will touch the ground beyond your head. And you just let it happen. You just let it happen. You don't have to hurt yourself. This is a little strenuous. And there isn't an easy way around that one, but... Pardon me? Slightly apart. This one some people will probably not do for a little while, but you get into postures. I mean, you just will simply kneel on the feet here, use a belt or a piece of cord material just to engage, so you could just kneel in that position, using that to bridge the gap between the two hands, and just again gently bring the body into the opening posture without going crazy and get into this thinking you've got to do this in the first week of even looking at it. It's not what it's about. But you will get to a place where you can touch your fingers and pull. Easy little twist. The one on the right is an advanced position. The one on the left is the one that we'll be trying to get our bodies closer to being into early on. Just a simple stretch. All of these have got partial positions that everyone can get their bodies into. This is a challenging one, but again, you can begin by sitting like this, supporting your body and just lifting your feet from the floor in a bent position. Eventually, you'll find that you can get into this one where you use your arms to balance your legs raised. And when your abs develop, you can get to a place where you can put your hands behind your head. And finally, this is a funny one. There's a correction in your notes I want you to note, because we didn't know it at the time. This is known as the tree in yoga. And there was something about it that I couldn't figure out. It took me a couple of days, and finally I went inside and I said, look, to Ash, I just want to check with you. You know, I've been asking Mao what it is about this particular position that has to do with the Merkaba. And at that time, we didn't know about the ethos and eros, photonegative and photopositive currents, which were quite complicated. But I didn't know that Ash was like on the border of trying to actually figure what role these played in relation to the pillar of power, which is some new material that's going to be presented during this workshop. And all of this business about your capacitance has to do with your ability to connect with the pillar of power. And beyond the pillar of power, by the way, is the chariot's fire. Just thought I'd mention it, but you know, these are all really progressions that are like right upon us. And anyway, it transpired that in fact the original purpose of this, with the sole of the foot inside the thigh when you get to the point where you can do it, because in the early stages you don't actually have to do a lot more if you can't, than put the sole of your foot on top of the other foot so you're on one leg. That's the key part. And gradually you can stand with your foot perhaps on your knee, and gradually you'll get your foot up in the groin, you know. So there are these little gentle progressions that you get used to them. But the key thing is that this is a major density 1 Merkaba maintenance and management tool. And the breathing in this one is different from all the other ones, where when you're standing on I know. Anyway, when you're standing like this, you're drawing ethos, photo-positive currents up from the Mahadra. And when you change foot position, you're drawing photo-negative, eros, down from the Adhrana. And this particular exercise is a very interesting and influential exercise in terms of our ongoing, quick couple of minutes, major maintenance and management and development of Identity 1 Merkaba. And this is the end of the Logos. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going up on deck, and we're going to have a little run through, ever so gentle, have a bit of a laugh probably, because we'll all fall over at different times. I guarantee you I will when I try and do the tree, you know. I've been doing it for 4 months. And I will say one final thing. The running through this Logos program, to whatever degree you're able, prior to any grid work, is considered quietly to be a prerequisite of grid work preparation. Right? Opening your fields, charging your fields with the available currents that we're working with prior to going into any field work, any Shields Clinic work, this would be considered to be just as the same as putting on your armor or strapping on your sword. You know what I mean? It's as fundamental as that. So we won't drip on about it. We won't continuously remind you, but just know that this trip, before you go out and do any field work, you need to open your bodies up a little bit and fill up, charge your fields to the maximum that they can presently do. All right, and we won't talk about that anymore. Right, so we go upstairs. What deck are we on? Yeah. No, we were back at 2. All right. And where are we going? She's going to take us up there, is she? Okay, so we follow a lady? Great. Pardon, darling? When you do Logos, no. No, you're doing it kind of inside out. Because the breathing in the individual postures, I think, I didn't count them, but I think all of the lotus points are covered in this 12-sequence Logos program. I didn't double-check it, by the way. I just took it on trust as they were giving it. Oh, no. No, this is entirely a different thing. If you're talking Kathara 2-3, you do Kathara 2-3 precisely as it's given, right? If you're doing Logos, there is no tapping in Logos at all. Okay. You're breathing all the way until you brought the body back to its original position. You will inhale. You're inhaling lotus frequency as you just bring the body back on one long inhale. If you're working with a more complicated posture, you would use a series of inhale, gentle exhale, until you brought the body all the way back. All right?
Really, as I said downstairs, this is a process of directed breathing. It's not yoga, okay? It's always about directed breathing. Breathing frequency into parts of the body that the postures show you are displaying the effects of Shona crystal miasmic buildup. And you're using this technique to clear your physical body and your immediate fields of the effects of that. So therefore, you can create the space to hold more charge, right? That's what we're doing. All right, next one then. This is posture 2. Stand with your feet about 3 feet apart, which is wider than the last time. All right, I mean, Jane's doing all these for you, so if you keep an eye on what she's doing the postures virtually before I describe them. Okay, on the inhale, lift your arms up and just stretch up into the space above you. Inhale. And on the exhale, you fold your body forwards. Watch Jane, she's bringing her left arm down to the shin. Keep your legs straight if you can. Inhale. And on the exhale, lift the left arm vertically above your head, leaving the other arm where it is. All right? Now allow, that's it, allow the body to follow. Don't push it anywhere. Just allow it to follow and breathe all the time. Inhale at the Ra, exhale from the Ra into the areas of your body that feel tight. And on the exhale breath each time, allow the body to extend a little bit. Allow the head to twist, looking up the arm that is pointing up into the air. Don't push it. Don't force your head around. Inhale in the posture. Exhale into the areas of tightness. That's where the Shona crystal detritus is. Okay. Now inhale, and on the exhale, just relax while remaining bent and change hands. So you'd shift with your right hand on your left shin, put your left arm straight up in the air, as straight as you can manage, because there's bound to be some shoulder stiffness. Now remember that when you're feeling shoulder stiffness, what you're talking about is a Kathara signet that's full of Shona crystals. All right? Breathe into the shoulder particularly. On the exhale, blowing the crystals out. It won't all happen on a couple of breaths. Okay? And when you feel ready now, inhale and exhale, and then the following inhale, bring your body back up to the start position gracefully. If you have to take more than one inhale, exhale, do that. Just bring your feet together and just give your body a little shake. No, as long as it's the opposite to the one that's holding the front, right?
Can it be this way or that way?
No, that doesn't. That's not important.
Okay.
It won't change it. Right, questionless, but it won't change what we're doing with the. It's really in here and down the lower back. Okay, and the twist in the body, which is working one side. This Kathara signet here, as well as the one over here. All right, when you change position. Okay. And if you can find sufficient space, you can be lying on your back with your arms by your sides, knees bent, and feet on the floor. Well, no. Just. Yeah, we got a couple of problems just for a second. First of all, if you can just sit up a minute, I'm going to have to move you all a little bit. But just sit up straight for a second. Jane will just demonstrate the movement. I think probably what we'll do is we'll demonstrate every movement first and then we'll do them. Okay? The second is that as far as your body position on the floor is concerned, you're going to be moving your arms back above your head. So you're going to have an arm length behind you where you don't want to be banging someone else. So you need to have a little bit of space above your arms. Anyway, what Jane is doing now, if you start with your arms on the floor, love, okay, your feet are going to be 6 or 9 inches apart. Just bring your feet in a little bit, Jay. All right. So you begin by inhaling and exhaling into the Ra, and then you will do a long inhale from the Ra, raising the arms up and over to the floor behind your head, allowing your pelvis to lift. This part of you here, as the extension happens in the arm, it will pull and it will create an arch. The more you can relax into the posture, the greater the arch will become. And the more your bum will want to slide along the floor up towards your head, okay? In the early stages of doing this, you're probably going to be a bit stiff down here. I mean, the entire pelvic girdle and this whole complex down here will probably be quite tight, and it won't want to move very much. Don't worry about it, right? But as you continue with this particular one, you'll notice that much more and more of your back, further up your back, will be arching. And your buttocks will get tight. They'll be toning as you're doing this as a byproduct if you're interested in that. But the key thing is that your bum will start sliding across the floor as you extend. When you get to you're inhaling, exhaling, and you're aware of the body here, and you're aware of the body in these areas, the lotus points are in here as well. And when you have the arms, as you're moving into the extension, as you're breathing on the exhale, you're aware that in this kind of posture, you're just reaching a little bit through the muscles, right? You're not pushing, you're not going crazy, but you're just moving the extension in this entire area. So everything in it, right? 6 and 7, Kathara Signet 6 and 7, the lower, the transcendent lotus points, all right, are all being stimulated and open just in the action of doing this, okay, and the corresponding ones down here. So if you can get into the right kind of floor space then for the arm extension part of it, doing good. Hey, you waking up a sweat or what? You waking up a sweat? Hey? All right, so you this way. Arms by your sides. That's the start position. You need to come a little bit further than this way because your arms are going to go up, okay? Alrighty. So you inhale and exhale from the Ra first before you move your arms up. And this is a very simple, very easy one to do. Inhale, exhale from the Ra. Then as soon as you're ready, a very long inhale from the Ra. As you begin to raise the arms, the inhale runs all the way with your arms, all the way until the back of your palms hits the floor. That's the end of the inhale. Exhale gently as you bring your arms forward and back to the position where they're lying, palms down on the floor beside you. Okay? And you repeat that 3 to 6 times. Inhaling on the lift from the Ra, exhaling into the lower back and to the Kathara Signet 6 and 7 areas in your shoulders, whilst just extending your arms slightly. And now you'll find as your body opens, your back will arch on its own. No, you don't push it. You allow the back to arch. As your arms extend above your head, allow your bum to slide up a little bit and your pelvis area to arch up. Okay, when you've done 6 of the motions, the inhale, exhale, arm motion, then you can just simply, on the final inhale, return to a sitting position. On the inhale, just bring your back, arms up, palms to the floor, and give your upper body a little push just to come up to a sitting position, all on the inhale. And then exhale again from the Ra. It's pouring with rain. I bloody say. down to England. The leg position in posture 4 is an important position to understand before you do anything. This is not cross-legged. No. The position that you need to be in is having... Just hold on. Suppose my arms are my leg, my shins. Because that works different sides of the body, okay? So all that we'll do, we'll have one position, let's say the right shin is in front of the left shin to begin. All right? And when we've done this posture in this position, we'll simply change them so the left shin is in front of the right shin. But the key thing is that you want the shin, the leading shin, to appear to be as parallel, in other words, horizontally across your body, flat on the floor. No crossing or anything, no tucking of feet into lotus positions, just your shins down, so. Like that. Pardon? Yeah, let me do it. Hang on. The shape of your shins means that they lock together. It curves in your legs so that the insteps are under your thigh, under the calves, right? Yeah, so that you're not crossing your legs across, but you have them as close as you can get them to being parallel to each other, all right? Yeah, you need to, let's just have a look at this. You just need to come a little bit closer forward. Just a little bit. Easy. Just a little bit. That's it. That's right now. Just the soles of your feet a little bit under the other part of your chest. That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good.
Sorry. Feet under.
Feet under your legs.
Thank you.
Oh, what would it be like? Now look, the reason why I'm being fussy about this is because I know that if your legs are in the wrong position, it will hurt you. And if you get hurt, you'll be discouraged. And if you're discouraged, you won't do it. So that's why this particular posture, you need to have your legs in a pretty decent arrangement in order that when you do the next step, it doesn't hurt your feet and your ankles and starts to pull in these two areas in a way that feels unpleasant. It's going to pull anyway, but it's better to pull in the way it's designed to work because it will be too uncomfortable. All right? So the key thing is that basically this part of your foot is just a little bit under the part of your shin, just below the knee. And this leg, look, when you look down, it's kind of like directly across your body. So it's not a tight cross leg or anything, but your feet are tucked away and the front shin, right. Now from that position, Janie, you want to go? You take the inhale first. Palms should be on the floor on the inhale, Janie. So to do what Jane's doing now, you would just put your palms down in front of you. No stretching. Just put your palms down so they touch the floor in a really comfortable way. Now at that point, you take the first inhale, right? Big inhale from the Ra. Your palms should be as close to your shins as you can. And on the exhale, you allow your palm to slide across the floor until your body doesn't want it to go any further, and allow it to stop. So you're actually matching the exhale with the sliding action of the hands and the upper and lower parts of the back until the body doesn't want to move anymore. So you're trying to match the exhale with the movement of the body. Stop at that point, let the body stay, inhale and exhale again, and if the body chooses to move, let it move. And as you will discover as you do these, you will grow more and more accustomed to recognizing the point where your body extension has reached the maximum level it's comfortable with, on the particular day at the particular time you're doing the posture. And when you recognize the fact that the body's reached this point is when your inhale, exhale breathing from the Ra is the most important. Because you hold the posture at the extension maximum your body's told you it's capable of, and you then spend your time breathing Ra currents directly into the parts of the physical body vehicle that you can feel are reacting to the position you put it in. So that's the breathing posture. That's the key place where you will breathe at least 3 rounds of inhale, exhale into the body. Preferably a cycle of 6 breaths if you can manage it, before you bring the final inhale through and complete the posture and move on to the next one. And that, what I've just pointed out to you, that is common of every posture that we do. So there is a point when you prepare, you move into the posture on the inhale, exhale, you recognize the body reaches a point of its natural extension on that particular day. In that position you go, okay body, I see where you are now, I can feel where you are now. You can just shift your consciousness between breaths around a little bit, just check out how your body's feeling, have a look around, and then you'll do a cycle of 3 to 6 inhale, exhales that are targeted to the areas that your body is showing you it needs help with. And once you've done your targeted breathing, you would then use a very nice, elegant inhale and just bring the body back out of where it's been. Just pause, breathe easily, do a quick lotus touch before the next posture and go into posture. And basically the principle you repeat over and over. You put the body through the posture, you determine where it's willing to go. Once you've established where it's prepared to go that day, you breathe into the parts of the body that feel tight, which is where the Shona crystals are. You do your clearing work, you come out, you go to the next posture, okay? Yep. Yes. So yeah. I'm sorry, but it does. Yeah. So in your own time, just change your leg positions now. So you're going to work the other side of the body. Oh, look at you guys getting wet bums. Sorry? What? Relaxed. It's going into the recorder. Okay. Have we done the reverse position on that one? Yes? Okay. I'm really... I mean, the people who are in the water, I can't turn you over and get you lying, you tell me in that, can I? Shall I let you practice the next one in the privacy of your own cabins? Okay. I mean, these things, I will do now the things that I think that you might need a little bit of help with. Now, the next one, just to be clear, is called a cobra in yoga. And I'm not going to ask you to do it, but you would actually lie on your tummy, forehead on the floor, palms just out off by your shoulders. And the thing I want to be clear about is that the first 2 inhale breaths, you're lifting your upper body without pushing on your hands. And then on the 3rd breath is when you do the upper body lift, but you bring your arms into play and you actually stretch the whole body up and out. So it hits you in here and it hits you here and here, okay? But then you will actually literally help your body to come up to the maximum position of curvature with your arms straight on the floor in front of you, all right? So there's nothing funny about that.
And the 3rd breath.
Sorry?
The 3rd breath. And the 3rd breath.
Yes, the 3rd breath is when you do the full arm lift, really. Okay. The first 2, you're just actually flexing the upper body by using these lower back muscles and the ones in the upper abdomen. Okay, just to lift your body off the floor. You don't push yourself up with it. The plow, which is the one where you do when we're in school, you do this one here, the back curve. I mean, for anybody that, well, I'll put it another way. All that you need to do to begin this is to lie down on the floor with your hands under your butt, both sides, okay? And using a combination of what your legs can do and your arms can do is to get your butt off the ground. Okay, with your legs above your above your face, really. If you can curl up into a position where you can get your knees to come to rest on your forehead, right? Just roll yourself up like that. And if that's as much as you're physically comfortable in doing to begin with, allow that to be okay. But don't come out of the position without doing what both of these ladies are doing. And that is try to stretch your legs out. All you have to do is just straighten your legs in that position and wait and breathe into your body. Because what will happen is your body will start to open down here under the general weight of the legs. And the weight of the legs will actually start to open this part of the body down through here until your toes touch the floor one day. And then you can go and have a shandy to celebrate. But your body will open like that. It will get there on its own. You don't have to push it through anything. And the key thing in this is there's some very interesting, I will mention, there are some very interesting memories that pop up when you're breathing from this position. They're kind of memories that relate to forms of transition in other lives. It's a very interesting place. And oh, by the way, when you're down there, don't forget to say hi to Iumbi, because it's the closest you'll ever get to looking at it. Okay. So really, this one can look challenging, but I'm just pointing out to you that there are some very simple initial stages that you can go through. Just roll your body up. If you can get your knees under your forehead, stop there, straighten your legs and let that work gradually over a few days until you feel more comfortable and your body will finally unfold. The tricky thing with this one are to do with the breathing when this is being forced into congestion space. And you may have some interesting experiences about personal power and transitions in other times and places, all kind of things. A very interesting posture to get into. Very interesting posture to get into. Aye. Pardon?
Would you place the hands in the low back or you interlace
Yes.
them?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier. There was a question there about what the hand position was, and I said in the very earlier stage that particularly if you find this rolling up of the body in any way challenging, what you're going to do is you're going to take the hands on the upper part of your bum here, and you're going to use your hands to just give your bottom a push up in the air, so you get that curling back effect happening. Okay, it's not difficult at all to have the knees coming ahead of that roll, so that you can get your knees to sort of hang over your chest a little bit, and then the next stage is to get them to sit up here, and the next stage is to straighten your legs so they're hanging sort of like pointing slightly upwards probably above your head, and then that final roll when the body opens and comes down. So from that point, when you've got to there, your arms will then be straight down under your body on the floor, and there are different positions that you can play with your hands. Just do that as you move to do it. But you can just clasp your hands like she's doing. She's doing the full thing with her hands clasped straight. But there are other, you are sometimes moved, as I have been, to move my arms and hands in different positions on a particular day as I'm in that posture, for reasons I don't know. But the suggestion comes and I just do that and it's fine. Oh, Jane wants me to tell you that she couldn't do this posture at all 1 week ago. And now she can do it completely. Have you done it once a day since? Okay. Oh. Now, the good news here is that Jane wants to say that a week ago she hadn't done this before. She couldn't do it the first time or two she tried, and now she can do the whole thing. Now, what I want to point out, and she reminded me of something, is that both Ashayana and I have experienced days when we've got garbage going through the grids, and we can't open our bodies in some areas. Some will work, some won't. There are times when I find certain of these postures very easy to do, and others a little challenging. Usually for a lady and for Ash, it's the converse. So if I have trouble with my lower points, she's generally feeling pretty free there and tight up top, and vice versa. All I'm pointing out is that there are, in terms of grid days, there are grid days and bad days. And I want you to be cute enough to actually understand that your body might be talking to you in a certain sort of fashion. You're not to jump to simplistic conclusions. you may be recognizing that there is a bad grid day happening and that your body is reacting to it as it would, as you suppose it would. But your attention, you become aware of what's going on. And if you have a day where you're really very tight, all around your knees, don't want to work, just know what it is. Just know what it is. Don't get involved with it as an issue.
You will hear the no-time signal given by the ship's gong.
These people tell us all the time they never actually want to talk to us over the tannoy, but they do it all the while, don't they? Isn't it good?
It is no time, and first of all, I would like to take...
Thank you so very much. Okay, we press on here. The plane, which is frequency breathing movement number 7, is one that requires a degree of muscle toning. So I'm going to point out as we go by this, I'm not going to have you do it now because it's a very simple movement, is that you'll need some arm and abdominal strength. So what I suggest you do is don't duck it, because if you duck it, it can get to be a habit of ducking it. Put your body in a position, feel the tension in your arms, try and lift your bum off the floor so you're making this plank effect, and just put your body through the early stages of whatever it feels like, and notice what your body feels like when you ask it to assume the plane. I'm talking about this one. Okay? So as I'm going along, I'm acknowledging that there are certain degrees of physical strength that some of these things require. And like I said in the very first place, we recognize and honor that not all people have that available to them. But I did say it's a difference of degree. So put your body in the position and try and get your bum off the floor. Pardon me? Yeah. You start sitting up. You move your arms into the position behind your body, and basically you push, and you're pushing up through this area of your body as well as your arms. Right? That's right. And there is a neck extension and a head position, like Jane's. Okay, Jane, come down. That's good. That's good. Now, I wanted to get on because I'm not going to run over time by very much, but I did want to cover a few areas that are important. Now, the next one is the only, if I can remember right, the only overall field balancing exercise, except for the one that works the Merkaba, the last one. And this is generally referred to as the cow in yoga, all right? Now, again, what's important for people who are not able to immediately go and shove their feet and legs in the position that the diagram suggests, what is important is to make sure that everybody understands that they can approach this posture, because if we thought that you couldn't, it wouldn't be here anyway. All right? Now, there are 2 different sitting positions. One sitting position is where you simply literally sit on top of your shins. So you would sit on your heels, I think it's called, like that. There is another one which is referred to as sitting between your legs, which I think is the cross-leg position. So you just simply cross your legs the best way you know how, in a normal way, just like a child would. So there are 2 easy leg positions before we get to the true posture position, where you have one, you got your heel tucked in on your buttock on one side, and the foot, no, you need to be more up, knee up, and heel down. That's right. So with your, that's okay. Yeah. That's it. She's got it here. So the actual posture that we'd like you to reach is where you have. I'll just describe this lady who's sitting in the right position. She has her left heel. Her right heel touching her left buttock. She's not sitting on her heel. Her right heel is pulled in close to her left buttock. And she has her left leg crossed over her right thigh, with the sole of her left foot on the floor. All of the sole is on the floor. We don't have it tucked in the groin or anything like that. If you want to get up and come and have a look at where she's sitting in the correct posture, come and have a look, because it's better than me trying to describe it. Jane's in the right position as well.
Leave that bit to go down.
Can you all see? I mean, the diagram in the handout is pretty reasonable, but it doesn't let you get a bird's eye view. It doesn't let you look down on it. All right. Now then, no. This arm up, elbow up. That's right. Now then, having got yourself in any of the three leg positions, you would then take the opposite arm to the knee that's sticking up in the air. So in this lady's case, she's got her right elbow up and her left knee up. She's made the clasp behind, which can be done with a belt or a piece of rope or anything else that will help you to make the clasp. In the clasp, you don't pull to any great degree. The principle's the same. You make the best connection you can, take the tension and hold the tension, because to complete the movement, both of these ladies, actually, if your knees up, it's a little easier, are going to stretch forward and put their forehead on top of their upraised knee. That is the complete posture. All right, that's where we're headed. And I promise you that if you do this, if you go through the movement of this every day, I'll swear that within 2 weeks you can put your forehead on your knee. Okay? And this position is the full extension, and this is where you do the cycle of 3 to 6. Inhale, exhale from the Ra, directing the frequency into the parts of the body, right, that are specifically suggesting they need your support. And if you're inclined to do it, I mean, as you're taking the closed down breath, you can just breathe through the entire body. Final inhale as you come up to the start position, and then you would change your legs over again. Okay? You simply assume exactly the same posture by switching your legs over, switching your arms over, and going through it over again. You will find, as this lady is finding, that you are lopsided. We're all lopsided. Not only are parts of our bodies different sizes, our organs are of different size if there are a pair of them. You'll also find that your body and your fields are lopsided, just as you'll find your male and female Merkaba is lopsided to some degree. All right? So you may be able to make the clasp directly fingertip to fingertip on one side, and on the other side you need to use a belt or a piece of rope to initiate the clasp before you open your body up enough. All right? Now then, when you finish the cow, anytime you've got your legs in a compressed position, it's something I forgot to mention, is that when you come out of the posture, just shake your legs off a bit. Just shake any part of your body off a little bit. You'll find it'll just fizz and they'll relax really very quickly. Now the next position, Jenny, is the twist. There's a simple twist that follows you sitting in the cow position when you're sitting upright. It consists of the feet being in virtually the same position, where you have the heel coming round towards the buttock of one side and the other leg crossing over it. And all you do is to take the right palm to the right knee, past the thigh. That's it. And with this palm on the floor behind you, and you just allow, once you've reached the position, allow the tension that you set up in the body to provide you with a twist. That will all be working here. And when you feel more comfortable, you can actually put a little purchase on the palm of the supporting hand at the back. You can use it just a tweak. If you feel cheeky, just give it a little bit more. If you just want to shake a bit more of those crystals away, just say, yeah, go on. Give it one. But do it gently. Do it sensibly, okay? We don't want to see you all in hospital. Any. Right, what else have we got to do? These last... Look, Jane's response to the final Merkaba one. I didn't know you put that there. The remaining three are really straightforward. Here is a case, though, where I think I need to say, be really gentle with this stretch, all right? Don't, and what I mean is, be gentle in your view of yourself when you do this stretch. Don't beat yourself up because you can't get your hands further than your knee. Don't beat yourself up because you've seen yoga photographs of people with their hands clasped way beyond the sole of their feet. You are not in any way or respect a lesser being. Just because you transmute in a pile of frequency that most of the yoga practitioners don't know anything about anyway, and because your body is full of miasmic detritus in certain areas that you haven't cleared yet, just recognize yourself for what you are and what you're doing. So here we are. This case is sitting down with the sole of the foot pulled into the thigh on one side, and you can walk both hands down the outstretched leg. Just show them. Walk them down, Jane. Don't go straight into full stretch. So you're going to begin the inhale-exhale cycle here. On each exhale, you're going to progressively move as the body is willing to travel through the hands down the leg. You can grip your leg. You can support yourself with the leg. You can stop. You can pause for a minute or two. Inhale, exhale. The body will open a little bit more. Let your hands travel down the leg. And once you've reached the point of comfortable extension, do the inhale-exhale breath into the specific parts of the body. Before you close it down, graceful inhale, bring the hands back up the body. You can walk yourself back if you get a little bit stiff or stuck. Just walk yourself back up the leg until you're sitting. Breathing easy, final inhale. Exhale and come out, change leg position, and do the same thing on the other side. Don't go there. You don't have to do it. Okay. All right. Now the penultimate one. This is this guy. I suppose for a punishment I ought to do this one probably, shouldn't I? Well, I'm standing up here yapping, doing nothing, and you probably think, can Az do that? Can you do it yet? So you begin, you sit upright, okay? Then you bring your hands into the support position behind your body. And then when you're supporting your body behind, is when you bring your knees up into a bent position. So you're pulling your feet towards your body. So you're bending your knees, in other words. Then you're going to lift your feet off the floor, supporting your body. I'm doing this the really slow, easy way. So that what happens if you're not rushing to doing this with the full power of the abdominal muscles, you're going to actually sit up with your hands supporting you behind your back. You're going to bend your knees. You're going to pull your feet towards you, and you're just going to sit on your bum, and you're going to say, okay, legs, let's lift the feet up a little bit. Okay, I'm going slowly through this. I'm not doing what these guys are doing because they've been doing it more often. So you're going to be sitting up, supporting yourself with your arms, and you're going to say, okay, legs, let's lift the feet off the floor. And then you're going to progress to a place where you're going to say, okay, can we begin to straighten our legs while we're supporting ourselves sitting up? And when we've actually shown that we can straighten our legs and hold them at an angle to our body while we're supporting ourselves sitting up, we're going to say, okay, can we take the arms away yet? And you're doing all this while you're still breathing in the way that you've been shown to breathe. But I'm just stepping you through really slowly how you crack this one. And how you show yourself that you can do something that you can look at and say, I can't do that, but you can. So you use these very, very slow, gradual stages, each time talking to the body and saying, okay, are we going to lift the legs up today? Can I take my arms away today? Can I put my arms out horizontal to balance my body today? Or can I fold my hands behind my head and do the whole thing? Yeah. Because you will find that as you play with this apparently very simple thing, you start to develop a relationship with a part of yourself that you've left behind a long time ago. You know, you become aware of yourself in a way that you can genuinely feel some reverence for what you call your body. You start to have a relationship with breathing from a conscious perspective that you probably haven't had much of, except when you're asked to do energy work explicitly. And this opens up a whole new area in which you notice how often you forget. Oh, I'll say it for myself. I've noticed how often I forget to breathe energetically. And when I do this, it reminds me. And through being reminded, I actually do it more often when I'm not doing this. Okay? And the last one then. Did you do the full one?
I can now,
Yeah?
yeah. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
Okay. So now, I will do the same thing over again, assuming that all of us are in the worst physical condition we possibly could be. You need to achieve one small thing, and that is stand without falling over with the sole of one foot on top of the instep of the other, like that. And then, yes, you need to raise your arms up in the air like this, while standing with one foot on top of the other. You will be using the inhale-exhale breath that is common to every posture, but in this particular case, when you have... I'm just checking this, hang on a minute. Okay. When you have your right foot on top of your left foot, or your right heel in your left groin, whichever of the positions you're using, you will actually breathe from the Mahadra below, and you'll be pulling ethos, single point ethos, up, photopositive currents, up into the female side of the Merkaba, and you will remind yourself of the characteristics of the Merkaba while you're breathing, which is 11 2/3 counterclockwise spin as you're breathing. And you're doing your, whatever you want to think of it as being, 50,000 lifetimes Merkaba maintenance program. All right? That's what this is about. This is a really important way to finish it. Now, the progression, as I explained with some of the other things, is when you can't physically feel right doing more than stand on one foot with one foot on the other, doing the breathing in this position, you can then begin to explore, can you keep your balance? Can you stand with your sole of your foot just tucked onto your knee? All right, and get used to doing that without falling over. And then you can bring your foot right up into the groin with your arms extended and do the whole thing with the full posture. All right? And this is a time where if you're breathing any Ra breaths, you're really breathing the completion. So you're breathing all the way through your field. You're just clearing like that. Just blowing all the soot out of your chimney, you know? Because the specific breathing represents the Yan and the Yun breaths. Okay? The ethos and the eros breathing into the lower and the upper parts of the Merkaba. So if you want to close down this one, you finish the ethos and eros breathing, you do a cycle of, say, 3 from the Ra, 48 point, and you just blast it through your field, just to clear all the deadness out that you can. To close your session, final inhale, gentle exhale, just stand straight, done. Okay? Yeah, Jane has got the handouts are being printed today, so you have a full set of all the notes. A little page of blurb, a little page of before you begin, check with your rishi, that one, and then you have every one of these on 4 pieces of paper. Sorry? Yeah, it's 11 2/3 counterclockwise female, 33 1/3 male, clockwise male. Yeah. So you when you're standing. When you're standing on your left leg, you're working the female, on the right leg of the male.
But when you're working the male, bringing it in.
Yeah. You're pulling in from above when you're working the male on the right leg, and you're pulling up from the Mahadra below when you're working the female on the left leg. Sorry? Adhrana is at 36 inches above your head. Chakra 14. But the Adhrana triangulation works from technically, physically here, right? but the entire center, the whole complex, will embrace as well as the So, boys and girls, we'll see you back in the green room at 2 o'clock. Practice as much as you like in the meantime, but please, before we go out to do any grid work this trip, work your way through all 12 of these at a time of your own choosing, as close to the time that we leave, or the night before we go to bed, whichever. These will be available before we close the workshop today. So that's one technique less you'll have to do tomorrow night, which will help because it's quite a long one. Now, the meeting at 7 o'clock, in addition to utilizing the sight pass key that Darlene was moved unbeknownst to her everyday self, she actually acted on impulse quite rightly and sent out the hats with the Eye of Horus, which is actually a sight access key. The insertion of the cloister code inside the hat is a key component in the way that we actually utilize the implicit frequencies of both in the way that we have been told we must. A little bit of the 7 o'clock session will involve two things. One, I will need to ask or invite people that are more familiar or more experienced in working with me or with organizing roundtable stands. I will invite 12 people to work with me to be instructed on how we construct the ruche stand, which is different from any stand I've ever done before, for when we get on site. Everybody, though, will draw a random number from a hat or a box or whatever Jane organizes, so you know which tribe you will represent during the stand. So you just simply draw a ticket and you'll be a 1 or you're 12 or whatever you are. That will be done tomorrow night as well. So we're kitted up, we're organized, we know that when we go on site, we will be working in a kind of an unpresumptuous way. We won't be doing this in an overt sense in any way at all, but we'll know how we're going to jig the thing up and how we're going to approach it. You'll all know that, so that when we get there, we can just casually seem to be standing in a certain place with certain people and do it. Okay.
Can I make an announcement about ordinations for tonight?
Yes.
During the break. Hi, I'm Lou. We've had a request for a regent ordination. We'll do it during the break this evening, whenever that is. I believe we're getting a break. And I also would need, is anyone else for the regent ordination? I also need 2 regent consummates, if they'd be willing to assist in this process.
So can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Doing these ordinations in the break will take longer than a 10 or 15 minute comfort break. I don't want you to run a very tight schedule, right? We should have been starting at 2 o'clock. We have to finish at 8 for dinner, okay? We're already running very tight on time. Now, as far as ordinations are concerned, I personally prefer it, and from the point of view of these people getting what they came for, if the ordinations can be organized outside of a sandwich in the actual workshop itself.
Okay.
If you can identify a time that's convenient for people outside of the workshop run, where
Right.
we have an end where we can't run over,
All right.
I think that will probably be better.
Okay, thank you. We'll just meet after this evening's session and work that out.
You can announce the time when it will be convenient outside of the workshop sessions.
Okay, we'll just meet after the workshop this evening and figure out a convenient time. And anyone who'd like to assist, that'd be great. Thank you.
I suggest that to Lou in all respect, because as much as you're bossy or anything like that, getting people together, getting them organized, getting everything to happen and work, you can't do them in 10 minutes if you're doing them right. And you don't want to lose half an hour of precious workshop time, because we only have 2 slots, today and Friday. And we have 6-hour runs, and we don't want to spend time in a certain way when we can do that, use that time someplace else. Now, interesting kind of discussion that was about, should we begin the Logos session with this? This I refer to as an extremely succinct and also very powerful summation of K234 that the beloveds gave us during the completion work we've been doing on the new Cathara manual. And we decided, because of time constraints, that we wouldn't do that. in view of my feeling after this morning's session, which I thought went well, and in view of the fact that Ash is still picking the pin with the beloveds and needed a half an hour additional time, I said, well, look, I still feel that we ought to share this with the group here because it contains information, and more importantly, the frequency it contains is so obvious, it just smacks you in the face. All right? That. The other is the beloveds have asked that we actually we do today the Flame of Ra activation as a group. So we have these two additional things to squeeze in. It's convenient because Ash is almost finished in actually nailing what this pin thing, the first of the pins, is about, and said she'd be here like at 2:30 and not later. So we're running behind her already, which is a new one, isn't it? So with nothing else to do, I'll get right into what we're doing. So the first is we have no other way of distributing this information to you, by the way, at the moment. So here it is, and it can go on the record for the benefit of people who later buy. Experience this workshop through buying a DVD and will encounter information they may not necessarily otherwise do if we don't do it now. So there are two reasons for doing this. Right, away we go. This piece is entitled Introduction to Kathara Level 2 and 3 Crystal Body Alignment, Kathara Programs and Earth's Wave of Ascent. As introduced in Kathara Level 1 program, the name Kathara is a composite word formed through the combination of three tonal resonance signatures that each denote specific phenomena. Ka, meaning light and oscillation. Tha, meaning sound and vibration. And Ra, meaning one, or point of unity, both in terms of the two aspects of light and sound that precede Ra in the word or name Kathara, in regard to the indelible, eternal unity of all things in relationship to God's source, or the source of all creation. The Kathara Level 2-3 program introduces various parts of the multidimensional anatomy as they exist within the context of the sacred sequence, which is the manifestation transduction sequence, culminating in our introduction to an aspect of anatomical structure called the Ra Center, located within the Hara level of multidimensional anatomy. The Ra Center is so named due to its function as a primary point of unity within the manifest and multidimensional body through which the Ka, light, and the Tha, sound aspects of multidimensional anatomy and their corresponding interdimensional frequency spectra meet and merge. The Ra Center represents the primary point of energy circulation and exchange between the physically manifest form and the Ka and Tha, which, in terms of multidimensional anatomy, represent the body of light and the body of sound, that together form the etheric blueprint from and through which each dimension of physical manifestation emerges. The Ka-Tha light sound body, or dimensionalized etheric body, is composed of the Ka photopositive frequency spectrum, known as the ethos, and the corresponding Tha photonegative frequency spectrum, known as the eros. The ethos and eros spectra are aspects of multidimensional anatomy that hold in place the immediate etheric blueprint through which physical manifestation emerges. These aspects of the sacred sequence, which are key to the manifestation of tangible healing in the physical anatomy, are further explored within the Kathara Level 4 program. The Kathara Level 2-3 program introduces the various elements of multidimensional anatomy, from the transcendent Eucatharista body to Merkaba fields, the radial flame body and crystal body of the intermediate anatomy, and their corresponding technique applications that empower and prepare us for reawakening of the Ra Center and its long dormant accelerated healing potentials. The technologies of flame body activation featured in Kathara Level 2 specifically address development of the ability to access, embody, and transmit the powerful heliotalic Eka core frequency spectrum
of primal life source currents that exist beyond the immediate 15-dimensional frequency spectrum. The heliotalic frequency spectrum represents the minimum of interdimensional frequency power that is needed to access and initiate activation of the Ra center, through which the Ka-Tha etheric blueprint core can then be accessed directly for expedited and greatly amplified healing and manifestation potential. Kathara Level 2 techniques provide the specific sequential set of personal scalar shield, Kathara grid, DNA template, Merkaba field, and radial body frequency activations through which the heliotalic Eka core currents can be accessed, turned on, and transmitted through the physical body vehicle. Kathara Level 2 flame body activation techniques culminate in the beginning activation of the personal radial flame body, the resultant awakening of Eka heliotalic primal life source healing currents within the personal multidimensional anatomy, and corresponding activation of the Kathara grid core density template, Merkaba fields, and DNA template. The technologies of introductory crystal body alignment featured in Kathara Level 3 specifically address reawakening of the organic crystal body anatomy, that's to say the programming core of the biocomputer, through which the heliotalic healing currents that were activated through Kathara Level 2 can be amplified to a sufficient level of strength to access the heliotalic Eka core, Shalea, La'etore, and La'edore eternal living light core primal source currents, through which the Ra center can be activated to provide direct access to the Ka, Tha, and Ethos Eros etheric blueprint. Kathara Level 3 explores crystal body anatomy, its basic structure, and introduces the nature of Eka, eternal living light, primal source currents, and Shona, static finite life, reverse polarity, dead light currents in relation to multidimensional anatomy. Through Kathara Level 3 technologies, the Shalea, La'etore, and La'edore heliotalic living light primal life source living light frequency spectrum initiates activation within the multidimensional anatomy, allowing for beginning activation of the embodied Ra center, with resultant access to the Ka-Tha light sound body immediate ethos eros etheric blueprint core. Access to the Ka-Tha and ethos eros frequency spectrum allows for advanced healing technologies of axiom-based shield bonding to be employed. Kathara Level 3 axiom-based shield bonding technologies allow healing of the etheric blueprint to initiate through progressive clearing and transmutation of embodied Shona transposition filter parens STFs, dead light field distortions fields, and their corresponding inorganic polarity misalignments within the crystal body, axiom meridian line systems, and manifest anatomy, which is referring directly to the contribution that Logos make. Initiating restoration of natural crystal body polarity alignment through axiom-based shield bonding via the Ra center allows progressive access to and restoration of the ethos eros etheric blueprint core of the Ka, light, and Tha sound bodies, which hold the immediate dimensionalized blueprints for physical manifestation. The Kathara Level 3 program progresses development of multidimensional healing abilities to activation of the Ra center and initiation of axiom-based shield bonding crystal body alignment, through which the organic imprint for health can be progressively restored within the axiom, meridian, radix, nadis lines, DNA template, and chakra system of multidimensional anatomy, pertaining to the pre-externalization and beginning externalization phases of the manifestation transduction sequence. Kathara Level 3 crystal body alignment technologies culminate in a sufficient degree of Ra center activation to initiate engagement of power key technology, opening the eyes of Ra, and advanced Kathara healing modality, utilizing the powerful flame of Ra, ecaheliotalic primal life source currents that allows for direct and immediate interaction with the etheric holographic projection field and core etheric blueprint, beyond the contemporary planetary and environmental and resultant personal biological constraints of Shona transposition filter, false hologram distortion fields. The Eyes of Ra power key technologies, which utilize activations of the pineal hypothalamus adrena complex, is the first key to unlocking the doorway to the physical etheric body core, through which the advanced Kathara level 4 Onatilia run technologies of natural polarity realignment can effectively be applied. The technique sequence featured within the Kathara 2-3 program is designed to reawaken the natural sequential pathway of primal life force, primal life source frequency activation, and corresponding spiritual identity integration that is organic to the structure of multidimensional anatomy within its eternal intimate relationship to the manifestation transduction sequence. The Kathara 2-3 program provides a sequential technique schedule through which the ability to utilize the simple but powerful Eyes of Ra power key technology for instant, on-command access to echoheliotalic healing currents can be progressively developed. The Eyes of Ra power key technology is the foundation technology and minimum personal shield activation level upon which all Kathara level 4 and further levels, Masters healing technologies and planetary grid Masters technologies are built. The Kathara level 4 Masters program, heliopathy, heliotalics, and the Onatilia state, healing through natural polarity realignment, introduces key aspects of anatomy, process, and dynamics corresponding to the externalization phase of the manifestation transduction sequence. The point of direct interface between the physically manifest body and consciousness, the etheric body core, and the greater aspects of multidimensional crystal body Eucatharista body anatomy. The Kathara 4 program, which utilizes transcendent Akasha heliotalic currents, focuses upon progressively freeing the personal etheric blueprint, chakras and DNA template, and physically manifest systems from the planetary karma constraints of Earth's environmentally induced Shona transposition filter biodistortion fields. Earth's STF distortion fields emerge on a planetary level as a genetic mutation force due to Earth's unnatural 23.5 degree ecliptic geographical North Pole tilt in relation to the solar axis, and corresponding unnatural magnetic north axis offset and planetary axiom meridian line polarity misalignment. These unnatural planetary environmental conditions resulted from a series of catastrophic planetary events that began millions of years ago in Earth's early history, and which have progressed to the present time, during which Earth's planetary crystal body and corresponding multidimensional anatomy accrued progressive degrees of cumulative damage. As the personal shields, Kathara grid, crystal body, etheric body, and manifest body anatomy of any life form automatically picks up the imprint of the planetary crystal body, etheric body, and shields upon passage into incarnation on the planet, the species of Earth have endured progressive mutation and limitation of their genetic evolutionary potentials due to the enforced adaptation to Earth's planetary crystal body polarity misalignments. Earth is presently entering a long-awaited natural healing cycle through which portions of Earth's crystal body will initiate self-generated healing. Earth's present healing cycle provides the species of Earth with the rare opportunity to begin personal crystal body healing, through which the DNA template and manifest biosystem can begin clearing the environmentally caused SDFs. This planetary karmic imprint has kept Earth species genetically bound into repeating cycles of finite life experience, limited evolutionary potential, dis-ease, and amnesiac memory loss to the anatomy, functions, identity, and freedoms of the eternal life Eucharist body and its indelible divine connection. The Kathara Level 4 program delves into the ancient healing mysteries of the Ka, Tha, and Ra centers, the etheric blueprint, the pillar of power, and the chariot of fire, which constitute a body of knowledge pertaining to personal, Christic crystal body mechanics through which we can share in Earth's contemporary healing cycle, to initiate the process of becoming free from the planetary biogenetic harness that has kept Earth species bound in limitation for many millennia. Earth's long prophesied self-generated healing cycle was set in motion between 2000 and 2003 AD, follows a natural, specific sequence of planetary crystal body alignment and polarity realignment stages, through which a portion of Earth's damaged crystal body, etheric body, and shields will naturally self-restore to the planetary first creation imprint, held within the planetary Eka base shield of the planetary Eka body. The multidimensional healing technologies presented in Kathara Levels 2, 3, and 4 programs offer a microcosmic reflection of these larger planetary crystal body healing stages, allowing us an opportunity to consciously establish a co-resonant frequency link between our personal multidimensional anatomy and the portion of Earth's crystal body that is healing through the return of the planet's eternal life potential. The Kathara programs offer us an intensive understanding of the structures, mechanics, and dynamics by which such monumental healing can occur on a physical level, and provide us with the self-generated spiritual science technologies through which we can begin to reclaim our powers of self-healing and restoration of eternal life potential. In simple terms, the Kathara bio-spiritual healing system provides us all with an opportunity to join the planet in its natural healing and renewal cycle, assisting us to catch the planetary time wave that is moving toward a future of healing, restoration, and ascension of consciousness and frequency. In establishing personal biofield and crystal body frequency co-resonance with Earth's healing wave of ascent, we can create progressive, self-generated immunity to the chaotic wave of descent and its corresponding planetary time wave, which will be experienced by the portions of Earth's body that can no longer hold the higher frequencies of healing and restoration. Through the Kathara programs, we are all being offered the opportunity to consciously choose which planetary time wave we will ride upon, and thus what evolutionary destiny we are most likely to encounter. The Kathara programs are not new. They are simply translations of the once common knowledge, wisdom, held within the pre-ancient Mahabharata texts that were lost to humanity during the late Atlantean period. Return of our healing potentials is a gift that the earth is presently offering to all of us. Return of the ancient wisdom is a gift we can choose to return to ourselves and the life field of this planet. Quotes, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. It is now a time for healing, if we so choose. The Kathara programs are lovingly offered as simple tools to facilitate the endeavor of achieving true and lasting healing of our planet, its species, and ourselves." As I said, I think earlier, the elements of Kathara 4, the introduction of elements of Kathara 4, are what Ashayana will be dealing with this week, albeit on a planetary level, and you're quite able to translate from the macro to the microcosmic. So that will help you, I think, a little more to understand what the framework is for what we're up to. All right, Flame of Ra next. We haven't done that yet. No. No, there were a lot of announcements and then jiggery pokey and moving the camera and shopping. All right. Alrighty, I won't spoil this for the sake of hurrying, but I won't waste time either, okay? So if you just draw a few breaths, just relax yourselves, get comfortable in your seats. We're about to perform Kathara Level 3, Technique 4, Part A, known as the Flame of Ra activation. So begin by visualizing, and if you can't recall correctly, just intend the L'Edore symbol code at your forehead, the area of your 6th chakra, Inhale, and on the inhale, draw the letter Dore code into the pineal. On the exhale, push the letter Dore from the pineal to the azare. Now this is step 3, the expanding breath sequence. Inhale, and on the exhale, expand the letter Dore outwards from the azare. On the next inhale, retract the now expanded letter Dore just a little bit, and then on the exhale, expand it further out. Now continue this inhale-exhale breathing technique, expanding just a little further out on each exhale. Until finally the central area, that's the 24-petal lotus of the letter Dore, completely surrounds your body. Step 4. Now visualize or intend a small replica of the letter Dore at the azare. Inhale, and on the exhale, push the replica to the iumbi. And breathing from the iumbi, repeat the expanding breathing sequence that we've just used at the azare, until finally the 24-petal lotus of the letter Dore completely surrounds your body from that point. Remember, this is permeating every cell of your body. It's not just surrounding you. Step 6. Now visualize or intend another replica of the letter Dore at the iumbi. Inhale, and on the exhale, push the replica from the iumbi up to the rajna. Repeat the expanding breathing sequence once more from the rajna. Okay, until the letter Dore completely permeates and surrounds your body from that center. Step 7. Visualize or intend another replica of the letter Dore code from the rajna, and exhale the replica all the way from the rajna down to the Mahadra center, earth core. Repeat the expanding breathing sequence with the letter Dore from earth core, and continue until the central part of the code surrounds and permeates your body, extending all the way as far as chakra 14 above the head, and all the way down to and from and within the Mahadra at earth core. Step 8. Now visualize or intend another replica of the letter Dore at the Mahadra center. Inhale and exhale the replica from the Mahadra at earth core to the Adrana center, 36 inches above the head. Repeat the expanding breath sequence from that point. So the letter Dore surrounds and permeates your body, extending all the way from chakra 14, 3 feet above your head, all the way down to the Mahadra at earth core. Now step 9, preparing for the final stage. Visualize or intend another replica of the letter Dore at the Adrana center, 36 inches or 3 feet above your head. Inhale, and on the exhale, push the replica to the Ra center, in the area of the solar plexus at chakra 3. Repeat the expanding breath sequence once more, visualizing or intending the letter Dore code expanding out from the Ra center until the 24-petal lotus center point permeates and surrounds your entire body. Hold your focus on the Ra center, and sensing or intending the letter Dore code all around you and permeating you, breathe on a 24-point axis from the Ra center, 36 or 48 if you're comfortable. Continue to breathe in a relaxed but focused manner from the Ra center on a 24, 36 or 48-point axis. Become aware of the Ra center as the control center for all other letter Dore ethos flame centers. Just spend a few seconds longer breathing in this way from the Ra center. Continue to breathe in this way, breathing from the Ra center, but while you're doing that, bring your attention slowly back to the L'Etore flame within the L'Etore caverns. Continue to breathe from the Ra. Bring your attention back to the L'Etore flame within the L'Etore caverns, and prepare to enter the L'Adore flame of the parallel Eka. To open your crystal body Lote for Eka base shield bonding restoration. Intend the image of the L'Etore caverns to emerge as a small speck of emerald light at the pineal. Step 12 is entering the L'Adore flame. So, slowly inhale on a 48-point axis from the Ra center to fire the first Shalaya 45 and second L'Etore 45 crisp sparks. Hold the breath at full inhale to fire the third L'Adore 90 crisp spark at automatic stop breath point. At this point, the lotus petals flash off in a L'Atilia state. Step 13, visualize the L'Adore or intend the L'Adore code at the pineal. Use the exhale breath to push the L'Adore code into the Ra center in the solar plexus area. As the L'Adore code enters the Ra center, observe as the L'Etore caverns room and its central L'Etore flame opens within your Rajna center, expanding outward from a speck of emerald light at the pineal throughout the center brain region, as if the L'Etore caverns room suddenly opened up three-dimensionally inside of your head. Breathe 48-point breaths from the Ra center and lean into the L'Etore caverns image, trying to sense the tangibility of its presence, while noticing that deep within the L'Etore flame, a second emerald flame of the L'Adore flame expands outward, merging with the L'Etore flame, forming the three-dimensional flame of Ra within the three-dimensional L'Etore caverns room inside of your head. Continue breathing 48-point Ra center breaths and observe that a large akasha-shaped gold and silver doorway opens within the flame of Ra, within the L'Etore caverns room inside of your head. Imagine now that you form a pale gold and silver mini-self replica of your body and project your mini-self into the gold and silver L'Adore doorway. In making this step, you have now entered the L'Adore flame. Breathe 48-point breaths gently from the Ra center, while focusing your mental attention within the mini-self inside of the L'Adore flame, just beyond the gold and silver doorway within the L'Etore flame. Feel the L'Adore flame frequencies enter your mini-self body and physical body Ra centers on each inhale breath. Try to sense the merging of the L'Etore 45 and L'Adore 45 frequencies within each cell of your physical body as the twin flames combine in your Ra center and cells to form the 90 charge flame of Ra. Step 17 is activating the optical transmission lines, activating the eyes of Ra. Continue 48-point breathing from the Ra center. Call to mind the image of the L'Adore code and intend, that a replica of the L'Adore code manifests within the Adrana triangulation and hypothalamus regions of your physical brain, as well as within the brain of your mini-self within the L'Adore flame. Inhale a 48-point breath from the Ra centers of both your physical and mini-self, and hold this breath at full inhale. Imagine, while holding this inhale, that the L'Adore codes in the Adrana triangulation and hypothalamus now replicate to form two sets of three identical L'Adore codes One set of 3 in the physical brain, the other set of 3 in the mini-self brain. With physical eyes open, exhale forcefully on a 3-point horizontal axis from the center of the physical and mini-self brains, using the exhale breath to push the three replicate Le'edore codes in each brain outward and frontward. One Le'edore code replica traveling outward through the third eye, and the other 2 replicate Le'edore codes simultaneously traveling forwards through the optic chiasm, optical cords, and eyeballs. Direct the optical projection lines to converge in a singular point about 6 feet in front of you, and observe as the 3 Le'edore codes merge into one at this point of convergence. Now draw a single point inhale breath at the physical body Ra center, and continue to draw the inhale breath upward and into the pineal center to coincide with the completion point of the inhale. Hold the inhale breath at the pineal for a moment. Close your physical eyes and exhale the single point breath horizontally forwards from the pineal out the third eye and straight on out to the convergence point of the Le'edore code 6 feet in front of you. As you exhale, imagine, command, intend that the 3-dimensional Le'edore caverns room inside your head now travels and expands outward through chakra 6 to become 3-dimensionally manifest all around you as a 3-dimensional 6-foot diameter etheric hologram sphere extending out from and all around your physical body. Keeping your eyes closed, return to gentle 48-point Ra center breathing and sense the tangible, felt reality of the Le'edore caverns room etheric hologram sphere all around your physical body. While you're doing this, continue gentle 48-point Ra center breathing and intend that your mini-self within the Le'edore flame now returns into your physical body. Try to feel the 2 aspects of self merge as gentle breathing circulates the flame of Ra frequencies through every cell. And notice now that this flame of Ra circulation extends beyond your physical body and out into your auric field and the 3-dimensional Le'edore caverns etheric hologram around you. Keeping physical eyes closed, take a final 48-point inhale from the Ra center and sense that the Le'edore caverns room etheric hologram around you gently contracts back into chakra 6 at the pineal as you inhale into the Ra center. Give the mental command intention for the Le'edore cavern room to remain as an etheric emerald crystal that you can place anywhere that you desire for storage in your auric field or outside of it in another desired location. Exhale gently and slowly on a 48-point axis from the Ra center and know that your flame of Ra and your eyes of Ra optical transmission lines are now activated. Just return to normal breathing for a moment or 2 while we proceed to the opening of the eyes of Ra power key technique. Step 1 is the flame of Ra current axis, and begin by recalling the emerald crystal storage location or vessel that you have just been using. Retrieve the emerald crystal from its storage location and intend it to manifest at the pineal. Inhale and exhale a 48-point Ra center breath, using the exhale to expand the Le'edore caverns room 6-foot diameter etheric hologram sphere from chakra 6 outward, all around you, giving the mental command, eyes of Ra open. Step 2, directing the flame of Ra current. So, while your physical body is stationed within the projected Le'edore caverns room etheric hologram sphere, you have direct access to the flame of Ra 90 charge heliotalic subharmonics and full harmonics for some applications, for use in lotus run axiom base shield bonding, instant lotus touch, optical lotus transmission, remote lotus healing applications, and other advanced Kathara techniques. simply breathe on the 48-point axis from the Ra center, and on the exhale, direct the flame of Ra current transmission wherever you choose. That can be out of specific chakras, out of your lotus fingers and palms, out of your eyes, throughout the auric field in a radiant sort of way, just any way you're moved to do. And both now and for future reference, when you no longer require direct access to flame of Ra transmitting frequencies, inhale a 48-point breath into the Ra center while intending that the projected Laetore Caverns Room etheric hologram sphere contracts back through chakra 6 and into the emerald crystal storage vessel at the pineal on the Ra center inhale. And as you do that, simply mentally intend that the emerald crystal storage vessel assumes the storage location that you have previously specified.
I'll just take from the top. Yeah. Alrighty. Now, a little thing that's not on the papers there that is going to be in the updated Cathar 2-3 that has to do with the technique, the power key that we just did. And it's going to be in the writing. For people who were at the last workshop, it will be coming out with the papers we still owe you from there. And it is going to be put into the revised edition of the K23 manual, which we had to do. We have to combine both the California workshop and the Phoenix workshop. But once you get to the point where you just did, now there's a cycle that you have to go through that's explained in the K23 manual as far as sustaining the activation levels that get you up to the point where you do this technique. Once you go through this period, and I believe it's 12 weeks, isn't it? 12 to 18 weeks? Yeah. Where you're not, 8 to 12 weeks, yeah. You're not using a lot of techniques, so it's not technique intensive. But for that 8 to 12 week period, you wouldn't be able to use this particular thing that I'm going to show you now. But after that, you would be able to hold enough on a sustained basis that you could. And it's really neat. I'm going to ask you if you'd hold the mic for me while I do this. Once you get to the point where you just did something really easy, all right, that last part, the power key, if you decide you want to do a healing, right, you're going to heal somebody, or you want to get the flame activated in your hands or something like that, first of all, you do what you just did and just breathe a 48-point lotus into the Ra center. Inhale it up and exhale out the 6-foot hologram of the Laetore chambers. That's it, all right? Now, all the techniques that you've worked with up to this point got you to the point where you can do this, all right, where you got it, you have enough frequency alive and active in your shields and enough of the flames running that you can simply, on one breath, on the 48-point lotus at the Ra center, bring it through and exhale it out. Now, if you want to bring that into the hand currents, instead of having to activate the hand currents later, there's a really neat way to do it, and I'll show you this standing up. Okay. Yeah, that works. All right. You do the inhale, but if you want to do the hand currents, you'd use this posture. Remember a while back, and I forget what technique number it was, we were sparking the arcs between the azure and the monadic orbs on the fingers, right? So on the inhale, as you're inhaling that 48-point lotus from the Ra center, you'd go with the hands in that position, across from the azure, and then on the exhale, when you're projecting out the hologram, right, you would at the same time go and down right into the lotus fingers position, and it would activate the whole thing. So literally, you get to the point, once you do this cycle of techniques that get where you can hold the activation in one set of, you've got your full currents on. And that's the beginning point of the whole set of technologies that are going to go with K4 that we're going to get the first part of on this trip, because they're needed for, not for the grid work, but for after the grid work. Because once the things that take place that we'll explain today on the planet are happening in the planetary body, we'll have access to the thing we've been calling the pillar of power. And we'll show you what that is, or I'll do my best to show you what that is, because I'm learning too. And this technique of being able to literally bring the flames up that quickly, that's the beginning. I can take it now, thank you. That's the beginning of the higher activation techniques that have to do with the pillar of power. I'm not going to do a lot of intro because I have a pile this thick of transparencies to go through to get you to the point where by the time, because the next time we get together, it's going to be for the grid work. So what we're going to do is on the Belize trip, when we go to Belize, there's grid work there, and I'm going to see when we can schedule it in, because it's either going to be during the fact that we're there, which ought to be fun without a microphone, or right before. There is a set of techniques that after you activate the Eye of Ra, which is being able to project out that 6-foot hologram around you from Chakra 6, there is an activation of what's called the Heart of Ra that comes out Chakra 4. There's the Seat of Ra, which comes out down here in Chakra 2. There's also the Throne of Ra, which is down below the knees, the Crown of Ra, which is up above the head, and that all culminates in the ability to begin the process of turning on the pillar of power, which begins the process of activating something in your field called the Chariot of Fire. And this is really exciting stuff. We haven't been able to use this on the planet since the electric wars 5.5 million years ago. That's a long time. So the planet's going through a renewal phase. This is a great healing cycle for this planet. And despite the wackiness that's been going down since 2000 in the political dramas, the planet is still going into its self-regeneration cycle. And we get to be a part of that. And the information that I'm going to go through tonight, and I've got to get through this tonight because it's there's no more postponing it till tomorrow. We're going to get through these transparencies tonight. By the end of it, hopefully, you're going to get a preview of Kathara 4, but catered to understanding the planet, understanding the planetary body, and know that whatever you're taught here about crystal body mechanics apply to both you and the planet. When we get into Kathara 4, it'll take up where we left off here, include this stuff, and then go beyond it into the physical body things that we're going to be dealing with. On the second full-day workshop that we're going to do, where today we're going to get the overwhelmed by transparencies and diagrams and that kind of stuff. It's one of those days, right? This is preparing us to be able to do a major techniques day, and that's going to be the second full-day workshop. It's going to be fully catered, Friday, because on Thursday is the big activation. We have an activation on Tuesday in the planetary grids at Belize, but the big one is at the place I can't pronounce, Chichen Itza? Chichen Itza, I got it that time. Yeah, there's the major grid work that we will explain today is going to take place there. After that point, within 24 hours after that point, which are going to be very close to that as far as the next day's workshop, that's when we can begin breathing through the pillar of power and turning back on what's called the ethos in our own bodies. This is the beginning of really being able to breathe the lotus, and we'll start to understand more about what that means in the cycling of light and the manufacture of living light within our bodies. Before we get the pillar of power turned on, there's a very limited capacity to spark the flames. You can only spark what's actually circulating within the immediate crystal body system. You can't access the things that are further out in the field, that are in the lota level and in the parallel level. This is where the chariot of fire level of your own crystal body is located. To get your chariot of fire back, you need to be able to activate the part of your own biology that's connected to this eka and also the parallel eka, which connects you directly to the center point of the akasha that they both came out of. So the technologies we're going to be going through, you get the theory today, and we're going to go into some, they haven't even showed me all of the techniques yet that we're going to be doing on Friday. They've taken me up to a certain point, me and Az, they've been showing us little bits about, okay, you have to make this breathe that way, then you make this breathe that way, then there's 6 of those, and then there's a cycle of 6 sets of 6 of those, all right, whatever. How do you put it all together? He's like, don't worry about it, because you can't do it yet anyway, right? Well, the first day we can all do it is Friday. And it's really exciting because that's the first day the planet is going to do it as well. This activation is the strongest one that's ever taken place on this planet since 5.5 million years ago. And it's just the beginning. It's the beginning of doing something called activating the planetary capstones. Now, if we don't know what the capstones are, it's not going to mean much to us. That's why we have a day of theory, where we start to understand a little bit more about crystal body anatomy. We learned about the templates in Kathara 2 and 3, and I'm going to do a hopefully quick run-through of the pictures that went with that, because I don't know about you guys who've gone to Kathara 2 and 3, but for me, I won't speak for you, Ash, but for me it was like, what did we just learn? Right? I mean, we were stuck in the hotel rooms doing diagram upon diagram, trying to show these different parts of the anatomy and get the basics down. What we learned in K2-3 were the structure of the templates of the crystal body, and these are the structure of the templates that all of your multidimensional anatomy manifests on. So we're not just learning about little chakras that are down here in this level of the anatomy. We're learning about the big stuff out there that it's connected to. There's a reason for that, because if you don't realize it's connected to this big stuff, you're not going to know the difference if you're spinning your Merkaba in the wrong direction, and it's making sure you never connect to the big stuff again, right? If you want to settle for a 4-body system when you have like multiple levels of 15-dimensional body systems, that's your choice. But we're being shown what everything is connected to. In K2-3, we learned about templates. That was just the beginning. And I know after the 2 workshops, the Phoenix and the California workshop, my head was spinning, going, okay, templates. Got that far. All right, then we have all these processes of what came first. Arcs, no, rod and staff came first. What came before that? The monadic beam anchored. Oh, okay. All of this was to get us to the point where we understood how certain basic structures of the field got there. The template structures, how one manufactured the next, manufactured the next. The information we're going to be given today, and that's why I'm going to recap a little bit, like breeze you through templates again. Remember, this was here, and this was here, and then this happened, this happened, this happened. So the next step, all of those things before were part of the intermediate and the pre-externalization phase of the process of manifestation, the manifestation transduction sequence. The next phase, the K4 is going to cover, is the externalization phase. That's where all that stuff and all the frequencies generated through those levels of template anatomy get turned into what we know as atomic structure. And the externalization phase is fascinating. And I feel about as overwhelmed right now with the diagrams from that as I did when they first came through on the templates. But fortunately, the templates look easier now in comparison. So you're going to get a preview of the K4 anatomy that has to do with the beginning of the externalization phase. And this is where the pillar of power comes in. In simple terms, the pillar of power is literally a pillar of frequency that runs through your center pillar. It's inside of the Hara line, inside of all the Kundalini lines, but it also permeates all of them, running through them. The pillar of power hasn't been able to be activated on this planet in any species since the electric wars, when the beginning of the misalignments of the planetary axis started. And once that axis was misaligned, it couldn't be reconnected. Now, we're still on a planet with a misaligned axis. Boy, are we ever. But there is still a third of the grids that have been dormant that held the original imprint. That is a part of the grids that are going to be activated. They are going to be rotated back in to alignment with the pillar of power so it can be turned back on. This is the only thing at this point in the drama that will prevent the 55 activation and further from the Buddhara wormhole matrix that's being activated over off the coast of California, going into up through Alaska and over to Hawaii. Now, we won't get heavily into that drama because we don't need to, but it might be interesting to say that I'm glad you guys made it here, the ones who have. I'm sorry for the people who tried and weren't able to get here. What we saw was the beginning of noticeable effects that have to do with the drama that's taking place on the planet. We've talked for ages about the Phi-X wormhole matrix that has the 2 wormholes one off the coast of Florida and one up a little bit further. And then we now have a new one. Well, it's not a new one. It's a very, very old one that has been uncapped by the Buddhara races, working with the UIR races over on the West Coast. What they're doing now is linking the 2 of them. So they can put the 2 matrices of frequency, of reverse frequency, online, which will allow them to do what they wanted to do in the first place, which was build their 55 vehicle, their 55 reverse Merkaba vehicle, and then speed it up to 144, which normally would totally take out the Eka. And because we have also been doing grid activations all along, and the Iani have been working overtime basically on literally in this universal structure, we're not going to have to face what that would mean otherwise, because all the predictions about, you know, pole shifts and all those nasty things that we've been hearing about for 2,000 years, you know, with biblical revelations, and even before that, the Mayans were into that. They knew the end times. Time ends now, right? These were all about a knowledge, holding a knowledge of these things happening at this time. But most of them were slanted. Most of the predictions were slanted to what's going to happen when it all goes 55 and then falls. What they weren't counting on is there'd still be enough Azarites and Eoni left on planet to do what we told them we were going to do in the first place, which was whatever you choose to do, we are still going to hold a third of those grids, because that's something you can't take if we hold it. And we have been running frequency for literally millions of years, because the drama started way before Atlantis, the first Atlantis. It started in the first seeding, but it started before that. It started on Tara. All of this is just a repercussion of what took place on Tara. On Tara, there was something interesting that did happen. Well, it needed to happen, because if it hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here in our solar system. We would have already been fallen, and so would the Terran system all the way up to Aramatena would have fallen in the Terran drama, and that was, 550 million years ago. Now, that's when this solar system literally jumped down from density 2 and ended up as a very quarantined solar system in density 1. What allowed for that to happen, instead of the whole thing going black hole at that point, because the same drama was tried there and it almost worked, there was something called a starburst initiated. Now, a starburst has to do with the pillar of power, and it has to do with opening the gates between this Eka and the parallel Eka. The Terran drama unfolded in a way that required only a galactic level starburst. The drama here has unfolded in a way that requires the full enchilada, as they say, which means full opening of the gates between the two, the Laedore gates and the Laetore gates, both combining to allow the full run, which will reset, and it will hold literally the pattern, the templates. The third of the templates that have managed to be able to hold their integrity will hold all the way down through the frequency, no matter what they activate on the 55. Because the 55 reverse spin Merkabas that are surrounding the planet now, that are inside the planet now, and that also go up to the galactic and the metagalactic level into the universal level in this particular time matrix, when they are accelerating activation now. And if we did not have the full frequencies available from both sides of the Eka, we wouldn't be able to stop it, and it would take the Eka on this side down, which would leave a big gap in the Eka on the other side as well. It's like having half your body ripped off while the other half bleeds to death, that kind of thing, but it's energy bleeding. So none of that's going to happen. We have a really positive drama taking place, but it's a big one. It has to do with this pillar of power, and in simple terms, the pillar of power is the etheric atomic interface system. Now, we've touched on little bits. We've used the word etheric here and there, but what the heck are the etherics in the first place? What makes them different than the ionic particulate currents, the ray currents that everything else is made of over here that we've learned about? Well, there's a big difference. The etheric currents are blended currents that carry part of the coding from the parallel Eka. They actually create a base field that allows the currents here to manifest and accrete in a way that dimensionality and 3D holographic projection can take place. They form the blueprint, and the etherics are one of the hardest levels to access if you're going to make changes in the body. The etheric template is almost set in stone. Now, it can be altered by major crystal body distortions, which this particular universal system has undergone, including the planet. And that means including any body that's on the planet. The crystal body distortions that we've talked about here and there on the planetary level have created distortions within the etheric field that right now will serve as the blueprint of how matter will manifest. It's literally like a hijacking of the photonegative that creates the photopositive. That's what's occurred here through the dynamics that have taken place. Now, I'll talk more liberally about the drama in a workshop like this, because this is a Gridmasters drama. And if there's anybody that doesn't want to hear about the political stuff, well, they should take Cathara then. They can learn about things on a personal level in a non-threatening way that doesn't get into the fact that there's been a big drama between competing forces here on this planet for a very long time. But here, I'm just going to talk about it. So when we get into the quick run through, what did we just do in Cathara 2-3 so we know where that... Okay? Okay. So before we get into that level, if we're going to think for a moment of, we've talked about the Yanesa, the base shield, right, the Eka base shield, and the seed atom the base shield and the seed atom they have the same coating. So the base shield is like a scalar shield that holds the same coating as the seed atom that allows for the particular configuration of Christic mathematics that allows for manifestation to occur. The Eka base shield and the Yanesa seed atom belong with the Eka on this side. But there's a larger one that both of them come out of, and this is called the Endrodon. And there's the Matrodon, which would be the female inner cells, and then the Petrodon, which is the parallel Eka side. We've got the Matrodon, and they've got the Petrodon. And this becomes key. This is the first of the first 8 cells of the Eka body, and it also manifests in something called the Nadrodon in our bodies, or any manifest body in the densities. And the Nadrodon is the key to the pillar of power. And the Nadrodon is a part of the planetary anatomy as well that has been hijacked into something called a buckyball. And we'll talk about buckyballs later, which are specific. Yeah. And for those who know nothing at all about physics, like me, I'm close to that, buckyballs are something that physicists here call Buckminster fullerenes, which are specific types of molecules. That the most particularly known one is called the C60 molecule, which is, I believe, it's 60 atoms of carbon in a particular configuration. And I think it has, I forget the number, it's like 26-sided things, and I forget the number of them. Yeah, 5 pentagrams and 12 hexagrams. Yeah. Anyway, like a geodesic dome, but a little bit different as far as the angles. Now, if you can picture this on a molecular level, that's what they're calling the buckyballs, the C60, carbon-60 molecules. Now, they have very interesting properties, part of which they're exploring are superconductive properties, where they can process electricity without hardly any resistance whatsoever. But there's a lot more to these. These are radiation matrices. Any atomic structure is actually a matrix of radiation units that are in relationship, in very specific geometrical relationship to each other, which means they interface their frequencies, their radiation interfaces at specific angles. And it's those angles of interface that determine what units are going to be created, what atoms, what type of molecules are going to be created from that radiation matrix. Oh, yes?
The superconductive property is totally contingent on frequency co-resonance.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Frequency co-resonance is vital in more
Right.
properties it assumes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too much for this.
All right.
Okay. You can get into that later. You can go over my head later. Yeah. There are certain... Let me get us all up to the point where you can go over our heads and not lose us, because that will lose me. Yeah. There are levels of the physics of this that if a person has a degree in physics, you're definitely ahead of the game. I don't, and I don't have time to get one, so I will share with you in layman's terms the most that I can. But it's important. It's important at some point we will be able to see the things we're talking about in crystal body are directly related to other things that scientists here are talking about in terms of molecule structures and those kind of things. There's a really interesting thing at the end of this, if we get to the end of this presentation, that has to do with this Nadrodon part of our anatomy and the planetary anatomy, and the fact that it is presently encased in the radiation structure of a buckyball. And, yeah, buckyball makes it easy. Buckminster fullerene, buckyball. I think actually they call each of the, do they call each of the atoms buckyballs? I'm not sure how they even specifically use that, but no, the whole thing is a buckyball, right? Because it actually makes almost like a sphere, right? Like a sphere of atoms that form a matrix that you can have something inside of. They also find you can collapse buckyballs, by the way, and turn them into crystals. And this has something to do with something we'll probably learn maybe for K4. I don't know, but I know there's something to this. The fact that right now our planet has embedded within it and surrounding it this configuration of the Buckminster fullerene, but in large scale as far as the fields around it, and on tiny, tiny scale as far as there is a single atom that is controlling the rest of the atoms on this planet. That means there's a single atom in your body that's controlling the rest of the atoms in your body as well. And that atom has been hijacked, and it has been surrounded by a radiation matrix that makes it do certain things that it was never intended to do. hopefully, by the time we get through the structure of the crystal body and you get to see where different things are, how, you know, what creates what, what's connected to what, you'll be able to appreciate more what it means to have this particular atom and to have it confined in this matrix when it shouldn't be in this matrix. It should be in a natural crystal body structure with its natural alignments as far as the vertical instead of having 23.5 degrees tilted axis. And there's another interesting tilt on the axis. It goes from 11 to 11.5 degrees, where actually they have the two aspects of the crystal body misaligned. One's the electrical is a 23.5 degree axis, which gives us our geographical north, and the other one that carries what's called the eros, the magnetic, is at an 11 degree shift to that axis, and it wobbles around. It actually orbits around the 23.5 degree shifted axis. So there's a wobble within a wobble. And all of this is not just affecting the planet. This is what our fields are doing as well. That's why it's so difficult to get your Merkaba to behave the way you want it to, because it's trying to follow these wobbles. And all of these wobbles and these things that are wrong with the system come down to this one atom. And it's an etheric atom, which means it's actually an atom that bridges. It's the point of bridging between the etheric systems and the templates and the not just the templates, but the spheres that we'll find out manifest in the templates, the etheric spectrums of the blueprints, and the direct atomic physical structure. And what we're going to be doing in turning the pillar of power back on is allowing the 1/3 of our bodies that still have the capacity to run the pillar of power to clear the buckyball around the seed atom that is holding the rest of it in place. So we will be able to free our Nadradon, I have to remember these names, which is that seed atom, that one control atom that spans the etheric into the physical. And once we can get that free from the buckyball matrix, we can bring our radio bodies back into alignment with the natural pillar of power, which allows us to turn on our capstones and our chariot of fire. And that's what's happening on a planetary level. And the planetary level is just in response to the fact that it's happening on a solar level. Our sun is going through the same process. So is our galactic center going through the same process. So this is stepping down all the way from the Eka all the way down. And the process by which it happens is called starburst. And it's a very particular configuration of what the etherics do in relation to the density bodies and how current builds on cycles of 6. And that allows for 45-degree shifts to happen where you get thalons and tharos. Now, we've had a heat thalon and a heat tharo, right? Well, there's smaller cycles that happen all the time if the breathing system of the natural body is, or the planetary body, is working right. You have thalon cycles, which are the magnetic ones, and you have tharo cycles, which are the electrical peak ones. These are the points where the echolota body comes into full merger with the lotum body, the loti on this side, on the PCM side, ours, and our parallel loti. We've not been able to cycle through natural thalon cycles since 5.5 million years ago, because these require the pillar of power. So hopefully by seeing the connections between these pieces of anatomy from templates going into these spheres within spheres that form through those templates, and they form through that thing I called the matrodon, all right, on our side. On the parallel Eka side, it would be the petrodon. And basically, they're the mother arc and the father arc, and they come out of the androdon, which is the androgynous one. That is the one, and this gets into like the 360 flames. What it all culminates into is we get our pillars powers turned on, and we will eventually be able to run the 360 flame, not just the 45 Le'atori, not just the 90 combined Le'atori Le'adore. We are being prepared to progressively, and it'll happen one pillar level at a time. You know how we're in a Rushite reset cycle right now, where the 12 Ruche pillars are progressively anchoring. We get 3 in 2012, but right now we get 1 per year. Well, each level, once a pillar activates, goes through its year cycle and is fully activated, and the next one activates, that's when the one before it'll starburst. All right, that's when. So we're going. This is part of the Rushite cycle. But before I get into starburst, which is probably going to be, we'll talk about the specifics of how starburst works after we get through this, probably when we get into the techniques, because there's this whole series of techniques that were very, very specific about how the etheric bodies align and they spark what, and then what happens next, that's coming in the technique block that is going to be on the Friday workshop. So right now, we'll get you through to where you'll understand what we're doing, with planetary grids, and you'll realize that it's happening with your bodies too. The process of doing it consciously actually allows you to participate with it at the same time that the Earth is getting its activation, which means it'll be stronger because you'll amplify the Earth and the Earth will amplify you, and it'll also give a stronger kick to these activations in the grids so they can reach other people faster, people who are receptive, people who have Christic seed atoms that can receive these frequencies, or people who are the Adani host. Now, there are a lot of people coming over that would have gone the Tothian way, they would have gone to fall, and they are now on the Adani host, which is from the other side. There's a whole system of gates that are being opened, both for them and for others who'd like to cross over. And I'm not sure exactly when crossover happens, what they're talking about yet. I don't know if we're going to get a chance at some point. I think it would be really cool if we got to like hold hands and go, can we go through the gates? Yes, physically. And like pop through and then pop back to say, see, we could, right? That's the potential of the technologies that they're giving us now. But we can't promise that. I don't know. I can't promise myself that I'll be able to go through the activations between now and 2012 to where my body could actually sustain to do that, because we have so many counter forces working around us in the environment. But it is a potential, and we may be being prepared for something larger than I realize, because as far as I know, we're being prepared to handle the frequencies on the planet, and some of us will be able to, at least theoretically and according to the Iani, be able to walk out literally with the bodies. They haven't said when, but it may be bigger than that. It may be sooner than that. I don't know, because I look at the technologies they're giving us now. We're doing everything we can to keep up with the translations. The translations are so huge at this point. I mean, this kept going from California. It opened in California and kept going and going and going, and this whole thing hasn't stopped yet. It's still going. The last 3 weeks, we've literally done like 2-3 hours of sleep a night, sleeping on the sitting room floor, just getting up again to go back to work. The transmission has been constant. And we're still not done with the graphs. The graphs are really intense. So we're part of something really big, and I asked myself, why are they giving us this much now? We're like maybe 2012 or 2011, but they're giving us some really advanced technologies now. I know that we have to have them because the 55s are activating. But all of this, you'll see when we get done how the level of technology that we're being shown. And the most important thing is, even if all of that turns into a blur by the end of the workshop, the most important thing is pretty simple. You have this pillar of power. You'll know what it is and basically what it does, even if you can't remember how it does what it does. And on Friday, we'll be taught for the first time how to remember how to breathe as the breatharians used to breathe. The breatharians, the full breatharians, had the ability to run the pillar of power, which completely, continually regenerates your frequency charge on your seed atom. It also gives your body the ability to shift angular rotational particle spin wherever you intend it, which means you can pop in and out of time zones and reality fields when you have that full system activated. So we're slowly getting the abilities back. I don't know when they will manifest. There are certain things in the anatomy that just don't belong here. I mean, they're really just not a part of what your normal anatomy would be as an interdimensional Christic being. We who have adopted the need to eat because we couldn't get our energy through breathing, right? So all of our digestive tract and that whole apparatus would be different as a full Christic being that doesn't need to eat substances outside of yourself. Kind of look at it now. We'll probably be this way for, I wouldn't doubt the species will stay this way for a number of thousands of years before we fully reverse mutate back into not needing those things. We might as well enjoy it while it's here. Because if you think about, it is kind of fun to eat food, Chocolate cake is great, even though it's not very good for you. So we have this unique opportunity that as we begin to move back toward our original form and what that was, which actually didn't have the ability to really tune into the densities like our bodies do now, we have this great period of grace where we can progressively get back our healing, but also enjoy the lighter aspects or the more fun aspects of what had been our mutation, our sickness. So we're in these bodies that are poised right now at a point of new evolution back to what they were, but they still have kind of like the best of what they became, and we're going to lose the worst of what we became. So anyway, I'm just curious. I don't know why I'm being asked for this, probably because we'll get an answer somewhere, and it's not going to be right after I ask this question either. But I've had a question in my head, and I just got the urge to ask this. is there any people in the last, like, even year or two that's had dreams about your teeth falling out or teeth shattering or anything like that? I'm just wondering if that's common, if that's a common phenomena. Okay, there's a few. Yeah. This has to do with, it has something to do with the radiation matrices that hold the bones together changing. I mean, some people actually have the physical. I went through a period with real rapid activations in 2000 and 2001 where my back teeth shattered. They just shattered for no reason at all. And it was like they're gone. You know, they never came back. Yeah, that's all right. But I dreamed about it for years. Like, just all of my teeth shattering to where I kind of go, and there'd be like, you know, a pile of glass in my hand. So I was just wondering, this has something to do with the radiation matrices that hold the atomic form together, changing. So if you get those, if you haven't had dreams like that and you start to get them, don't go get a book on dreams that tell you some stupid stuff about what it's supposed to mean if you dream that your teeth are falling out. Because I think they interpret it as something as you're worried about saving face or embarrassment or something. It's like, I could care less. You know, it's like it has nothing to do with that. So it does have something to do with the atomics. Now, I'm going to go through these quick. Hello. What I want to do with these, this whole first section, is just to remind you visually of where we came from with K23 and do it quickly. All right, and I'm going to do it quickly this time. This, if we'll recall, I don't have a pointer. Do we have a pointer? Yes, I have a pointer. You have a pointer. You're always so prepared. I love you so. There's so many things I admire about Az. One of them is that he's prepared all the time. I'm usually running behind trying to catch up with myself because transmissions are like all over the place. Anyway, without the pointer, this is simply the diagram that began our understanding of interwoven... What? I'm also an optimist. Okay. All right, a basic Cathara grid, but this shows the shields, all right? We have our density 1 shield, density 2 shield, density 3 shield, density 4 shield. Down here we have something that we just started to learn about, which is called the ethos shield. This is the etheric shield that allows for something to happen that has to do with the pillar of power. And we'll talk more about this shield when we understand more about what the etheric spectrum is. But if we can just remember that this is the basic structure that our templates are formed on, our crystal body templates. And it gets very, very interesting when you put lots of these together at different angles because you get a really wild-looking crystal body template. And these two, to remind us, these are the ethos flame centers, which are etheric flame centers. And it's because of these flame centers that are actually in the void spaces between the densities. These allow sparking to occur when certain things happen. There's actually a pillar of frequency. Imagine another Cathara grid down here, where its number 1 Cathara center would be right there, and its 12 would be down here. And then imagine up here, there's another one that's also running upside down, but this one gets more, a bit more, I can think, confusing. I'll wait till I have the diagrams out because it shows the numbering, but this one's upside down compared to this, and so is this one. This one here is called the ethos. There is one down here, and we're going to learn how this comes up through here, and its center flames spark with these center flames to generate literally the units of radiation that become what are called spark pulse currents that become the atomic electromagnetic currents. They step down in each density level to become the atomic currents that form our the sparks, the quarks that are sparks, actually, that form our protons and neutrons and some of our elementary particles. So we have sparks and quarks that are formed by these flames, these etheric flames that exist within the void spaces between the density shields. We have an ethos shield that we'll talk about later that comes from here, or an ethos Cathara grid, literally, and an eros one that goes up here. The ethos is the positive. It is considered the moda, or the male, right? It still has its own Merkaba field, and it still has counter-rotating fields. It's not a same spin spiral set. But it is a, let's say, if things were positive and negative charge, it's a positive, positive, negative, where the eros up above would be the negative one. It would be a negative, negative, positive. So these are where we get the male and the female etheric templates that come together and form the density template. That's where our density template actually comes from. So we're going to learn these basic structures that we learned about that form our template structure of the crystal body we learned about in K23. We're going to see how they're connected to this etheric blueprint set of Cathara grids, and it's through their interaction that there is a pillar of power that on the inhale The ethos is supposed to rise, and on the exhale, it falls. And after a set of 6 of those, it rises and jumps, and it triggers the eros, and then the eros descends. And it creates this whole sparking effect, and then the whole thing shifts axis 45 degrees, and it goes through the anataleia, the athanataleia, and the ataleia state. There's this whole process of breathing that has to do with a simple cathara grid, be it yours or the planets or the universes, and its relationship to these, right now, invisible ones that are called the eros and the ethos. The ethos on the PCM side is the power pillar. It's the ethos that has to come up to spark the other to come down. It's the opposite in the pKa Lodi body, or Lodi body on the antiparticle side, where they have a different thing. We'll show you that when we get into showing the relationships between the etherics. But for now, it's just the basic structure that we dealt with. It went through into, okay, go ahead, next. We talked about the shields, which were those, the horizontal shields that we saw on that grid before. Their basic structure. I'm not going to go through this again because this was covered in K23, and someday we'll write a book on it. Yeah, right. It just shows you the basic shield structure. Now this, if you look at it as a horizontal scalar wave disk, right? This has the programs in it that will, once frequency projects through it at certain angles from the center point where those ethos flames would be, projects outward, and it lifts these up off. It makes an imprint of them and lifts it up into dimensionality, where what used to be flat, it's still flat. The scalar waves still stay there, but there's an imprint of them taken and put at different angles of projection. And it's the interrelationships between those angles of projection within the cathara grid, because remember we have 5 of these stacked, right? The 4 density ones plus the ethos one. It's the relationships between them that actually create what becomes the I say three-dimensional because there's 2 ways this is used. Three-dimensional can meaning D1, D2, and D3, or it can be used meaning it has height, width, and depth. I'm using this in terms of height, width, and depth because it's height, width, and depth of 15-dimensional spectrum. But it's because of the relationship of the shields, the programs that they hold. Yes? What?
Will you speak to the charts on the other side? Can the camera can see what you're pointing at?
Okay. Okay. Sure. All right, so anyway, that's the shield program. The basic thing, you have a ruche center, which would actually be in the center here. This gets into the ruche pillars, the 12 ruche pillars, and they are the center core. They form what's called the spindle. We'll go through all that really, really quick because I want to get you to the androdon and its parts. So anyway, shields, we have the cathara grid, we had the shields. There are 5 of those in one cathara grid. Next one, please. If you remember, it's the interrelationship between these shields that becomes this, right? I'll show you how that happens in a little bit. This is the beginning of the chariot of fire body, of the crystal body. This shape in here, which we'll show you how that forms as we go through the K23 stuff, this is the crystal body structure. These are the capstones, or the immediate capstones. There's also a set of capstones that go with these points that go with the eka, and another set that goes with the parallel eka. When we have the chariot of fire, we're talking about 3 sets of 4 capstones, 12 capstones. So that is what, once the pillar of power is activated, becomes a potential of turning that back on. Right now we have like our little, well, if the big one's a chariot, what would you call that? Kind of like a go-kart of fire, right? Where, yeah, I mean, it's still pretty impressive itself. You get this back on, and you're halfway through your mutation already. In fact, you're pretty much through your immediate mutation anyway. But to be able to get these back on, we at this point have to turn on the full set of 12 because these are going to be reversed where we're never going to connect these again because of the 55 activations in the grids. So we need to turn on the full set of 12 of those before we can even get these to activate. So it's either all or nothing. In other words, all 12 or no capstones are going to go. Anyway, in K23, we just showed you that you have one of these, and this would be your density 4 body. And remember the embedded cathara grids? There's a smaller one inside that, density 3, smaller density 2, and a smaller one, density 1, way in there. So this is like big field out around you. What's kind of interesting is they gave us an approximation of one thing, which is a Talia cell, as they called it, that we'll talk about in a little bit, the Talia cells of the Talia sphere, which is a level of the crystal body. They said 1 cell of that in terms of Earth distances, or our measurements here. I think they said it was between 5 and 700,000 miles in diameter. It makes you start to realize, oh, we're not talking about little cells, are we? We're kind of like specks of dust inside these little cells. When you're talking about the light body structure around you, there's one level of this that's made of all these little spheres, and we'll see that in a little bit. That level, one of those little spheres is 5 to 700,000 miles in diameter. So if one of those is that big, I didn't even ask how big this might be, the whole thing, and how big those might be. So we're talking huge distances. And this is part of your anatomy. These are part of your fields. These are part of you. How big are you? A lot bigger than you realize, right? So anyway, this is the beginning. I like that, the go-kart of fire. That works. I've been trying to think of what's a quick way to call that in comparison to the chariot of fire, because it's a smaller chariot. But if you're going to call the 12 wheels, the full chariot, I think the go-kart works. Okay, so we got the go-kart of fire there. Again, we have the base shield, which is the Yanesa. It's the pattern of the Yanesa 15-cell seed atom that we learned about. We learned about this in the dance sport program when we were preparing for Hitaro and Hitalan on the planet. That's stationed as the base shield within the Akasha template. And remember, the Veka template is down here, right? It runs in the horizontal and vertical, and on this diagonal you have the Akasha, and at the center you have the Eka going that way. So this is the base shield. In K23, the technology of K23 is meant to get us to the point where we can bond our shields, the inner layers of our shields, and our what's called our axiom template, back to the base shield so it holds its natural imprint. So when the 55 activation continues and accelerates, it doesn't rip us into complete reversal where it completely reverses the shields. The base shield always holds the original imprint that you came in on. Now, the base shield is at the center of that Akasha Merkaba. That when we were learning about Merkaba, we learned why settle for this little guy that rotates in the same direction when actually you have this bigger one that all the 4 of those little guys live inside of, and they're supposed to counter-rotate. That's the living Akasha Merkaba, as opposed to a dead static Merkaba that has the same spin spiral set. So we learned about those a bit. This down here, again, is just more of showing this. This is showing, actually, within that form what are called the Riushivi vortices. This set of 4 vortices, every Cathara grid, every single Cathara grid implies a set of these vortices right here. These little triangles here. See? That's actually a vortex. And that's a vortex. And they're formed by the alignment of the Riushivi pillars. Now, as far as pillars go, the Akasha anchors first the 13th pillar into the center, which is considered the monadic beam. And from there, it then anchors 12 pillars. Now, each Cathara grid gets 12 pillars. When you're dealing with an Eka-Veka body, which has the Eka at the diagonal, that's one Cathara grid. Then it has the Veka template, where it has one, and I don't think it's shown on here. Yeah, actually it is. There's one going vertically and the other going horizontally. That gives you a set of 24 pillars in the whole Eka-Veka body. But when you have one Cathara grid, you end up with I don't have it shown here, but the single 12 pillars. So if you have one Cathara grid, it implies 5 shields. It implies 12 pillars plus the 13th pillar in the middle. And they're all connected to this larger body structure. This was just to show that in that structure that's taking place up there within the Akasha Merkaba, but within your Eka base shield, there's these lotus points. The lotuses are arcs of energy that run through the base shield, but they also run in the 3-dimensional format, where literally you have arcs of energy running up and around and through your body, and they spin, and they expand and contract and do all sorts of neat things. When we get to the techniques day, we're going to learn something. We've learned how to open the conduits. When we started lotus breathing, where we open the conduits of the lotus flow, that's just the beginning. There's the next stage is getting them to expand and contract, where you start to move the lotus petals up and down, right? And the best way to get it going is actually laying on your back, because it's very hard to move your legs in this direction while standing, right? Yeah. Unless you've learned to levitate, which we can't quite do yet until we get our pillar turned on to a certain amplitude. Anyway, all right.